place for you. No need to complicate it. It's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word is self-approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences, let love heal all that's broken. For you, no need to complicate it. It's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word is self-approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences, let love heal all that's broken.
All right, and shalom. And shalom to you all. It's a good day to be with you. Welcome to the Proceeding Word. We're honored to have you on here today. We're honored, one, to know that you all are here. This is going to be a subject matter for a lot of issues. I'll be talking about this for the next 2 days. Some of you are going to be upset with this conversation. Many of you may not know how to embrace this conversation. And then you might think that we are being one way or another, and we truly are not. But I'm hoping that wisdom for those who know us will prevail, and that as we begin this particular journey today on this subject matter, let's talk YAHShua, let's talk Kanye, let's talk Kyrie. Yeah, it's going to be that kind of thing. We realize the firestorm it can bring. It is a subject matter we need to talk about. I'm hoping that if you are not from the United States of America, that this subject and topic does not turn you off, because it's more than just an American issue. It is a global issue, and we need to look at it from a kingdom's perspective, how to and what to do. So we're going to take opportunity, if you don't mind, just to simply bring you in, and we're going to start have a word of prayer. And then our moderator is going to come in and give us a quick announcement as to what we do here on this page. I want you to prepare yourselves, because we're going to be working in a lot of different topics, a lot of different issues, a lot of different places and spaces. And I want you to be a part of all of it. So let's get started with a word of prayer, shall we? Yahweh, we love, adore. Literally, we magnify you. We don't always please you. We know that. But we're asking you today to hear our heart and hear our mind and hear our soul with regards to that. We desire to be in you. We desire to be of you. We desire to learn of you. And we need you to teach us all things necessary. You've promised us, and more importantly, you've showed us that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of you, Yahweh, who is our Elohim. You told us of things that would be happening in the last days. You've given us signs of times. You've given us the stars, the sun, the moon, and the different signs in the constellations to tell us what times we are in. And we're so grateful for that forewarning, because now we find ourselves thrust into the throes of a myriad of issues politically, financially, relationally, ministerially, religiously, that are affecting us on a global level. And yet the enemy of our faith is keeping us divided rather than helping us to see your bigger picture, because we're caught up in our little silly worlds. Remove us, I pray you, from a space of thinking about us, so that we can now see and think about you. I decrease all things that are VWJ, and I ask you to commandeer the vessel, the space, the platforms, and the voice, as well as all the amplification systems that we use to carry your truth, your perspective, your kingdom to the world. We love you, and we are still trying to figure you and how you want us to live out. We know we can never figure you out. It's just not possible. But what you have given unto us to walk this earth with, you've written in your book. And in this book, we desire to give all of our attention. So this governance we seek, you are the author and you are the finisher of our faith. And therefore, we come to you for wisdom. In the name of YAHShua HaMashiach, let this conversation not be anything that goes left, but let it go right. And where it went left, we ask you to give us insight so that we can right the ship with your aid from your word for your glory and not man's. But the help man obtain the glory you inscribed from the beginning of time. So we seek you today in these common and controversial subject matters of our day and our platforms and our politics and our social gatherings. Grace us now with your wisdom. In the name of YAHShua HaMashiach, we say and we pray. Amen. All right, everyone, we're so glad to have you with us. And for those of you who are here today, we got a subject matter that for generations that are before me, generations that are me, and generations that come after me, we can all embrace and look at these things. If you are on Facebook, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do. I know I'm in an area where a storm is due us, so I seem to be digitizing on Facebook and YouTube. We're doing our very best here. We have the strongest signal we can possibly have. And then we've boosted it, so we don't even know what more to tell you if we're digitizing. But we do have information we want you to grab. It may play better on the replay, but we're gonna show and prove and show tell nonetheless. So those of you who are with us on Clubhouse as well, you may want to share this room. You might not. It's up to you. Or you know what? Just sit and listen to it today. We have the replays on, so if anybody wants to come back and view it, they can. I don't even mind if the actual, if a chat is engaged. My problem with chats during conversations is that the chat boxes and chat rooms can go into different directions because people judge and assume and perceive what they want and they want alone. And the originator of the room, the originator of the conversation can't get their point across because of a myriad of distractions. And it's like people talking in church. And so that's why I keep chats off. But if you're on Facebook, you can make your comments, make your chats. YouTube, the same thing. But we want to make sure everybody's focused on this because it's a serious issue for, I would say that it's a serious issue for today. It'll be blown over by tomorrow. But how do Christians, how do believers in he who hung on the cross walk through these scenarios and demonstrate the kingdom of Elohim through their life while receiving the subjects that are inundating their lives? And one of the things that I'll say in a preemptive way is that Paul gave us a very great analogy and a very great practical way to execute kingdom manifestation. And he told us in the book of Ephesians, chapter number 6, that, we who are in this world, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but we do wrestle against principalities and against powers and against rulers of darkness and spiritual wickedness in high places. And we preach it and we talk about it. Reality is we don't literally live it. So I want us to go quickly to Ephesians chapter 6 and listen to a great, at this point, patriarch of our faith, definitely a resident theologian of our faith, though they be dead and gone. I want us to realize he wrote something for us. Verse number 12, as I was quoting to you guys, I'm going to read verbatim. For we, the believers in he who hung on the cross, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Verse 13, wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of Elohim, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day. Now, what does that mean to take on the whole armor? He's going to explain it. Verse 14 says, stand on what you know and believe. Stand because of this. Therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, you having on the breastplate of righteousness. Well, the truth is the word of Elohim. Righteousness is the word of Elohim. Verse 15, having your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Well, the gospel of shalom is the word of Elohim. All right. And I want you to get this. Verse 17 says, and take the helmet of salvation, which is the sword of the Spirit. The sword of the Spirit is the word of Elohim. He tells you very clearly. And then he says, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the same Spirit, which is the word, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. Now, I want to make sure that we have a way of understanding what supplication means. And of course, I love to share you guys my screen and give you what is happening. And I want to give you this concordance viewpoint so that you can see what this looks like. And in the Strong's Concordance here for the word supplication, you have two. You have deheos, deesis, which is make a petition, make a request, make a prayer supplication. All right. And then in Ephesians chapter number 6, verses 18, there's a second supplication, which is also the same word. And it also means make a petition. So if you read verse 18, after you've read 13 through 17, it says, always pray with all of your prayers and your petitions, your requests, in the word of Elohim. They must be done in the word of Elohim, by the word of Elohim. So when we pray to the Father, we don't pray our words. We get our words, get them into his words, get them translated, and then, as it were, we pray from his word. We pray with an understanding of what Elohim's will is for our life with the situations we're in. So what am I saying in general? Make sure that you and I are always using the word of God as the filter for what we're feeling, what we're experiencing, and what we're having as an emotion. So this way you're praying and making your supplications in a right way. All right, it's about to get hot. I'm really taking my time because I want to see our room pick up with people. I want to see some more traction today on this one because everybody's talking about it. I couldn't even come on to make my room on Clubhouse to say, hey, we're going to talk about this, this, or this, without being inundated with this issue of anti-Semitism. And I am, as you know, a deep student of world religions and the faith I myself have decided to allow to govern my life. That's right. Your choice of religion is your choice. So if you chose something that another person didn't choose to govern you, that's their religious choice and freedom, i.e., free will, moral agent. So your moral and morality are based on what governs you. If your morality is governed differently than another's, you don't have right to judge them. You just live your morality. I believe, as I believe many of you believe, that the creator of heaven and earth, his name is Elohim. That's what we believe. He is Yahweh, Adonai, and Ruach HaKodesh. He gave us a body to redeem the original body he made. And then he put him and his word within that body to walk in the earth and then die as the payment and the remission for sins that the original human he made erred into. See, that's our governance. Believing in him and believing in that ideology gives you what is known as, in general and in ignorance, Christendom. And so if you believe in that faith, you and I believe alike. If you do not believe in that faith, we are not enemies. But we don't believe the same thing. So the conversation that we're having today, the proceeding word, and all of the assignments we've ever been given to have vlog and blogs about are based on our governance of the Bible and the core of the Bible called the Torah. So if your perspective is different, it will be because of what you govern your life by. If you're an atheist, you don't believe in gods or God. It's funny because most atheists do. They just say they don't. And I'm not judging them. It's a real conversation. However, your belief is your belief. I'm not here to change you. But if you believe like I believe, the kingdom perspective we are governed by is what we're going to lay out today. So before you come for us and attack us and call us heretics or cults or call us religious idiots or brainwashed fools or all these other conversation pieces and derogatory statements or quote unquote self-assessments of who a person and people are because of what they believe, you have the right to your opinion, but we won't be entertaining that here today. We're going to show you what we do as kingdom believers, and that according to the writ. Now, our faith also is splintered because of intellect, because of people who think they know better than the other person, and none of us are taking time to go back to the origination or the origin of why our faith, why our governance of morality, and what our governance of morality has given us to live by. We've sort of kind of done it our own way. So this subject matter is going to be a bit important because we deal with a global statement, though it's being played out right now. It'll be played out other ways, other places later, but right now it's being played out in America in a very divisive way, and it's called anti-Semitism. I couldn't even go on Clubhouse to make my post for Bible studies tonight and or programs today, yesterday, because of all the conversations around these two guys. What did Kyrie Irving, a professional NBA basketball player in America, say that caused him to go through a bunch of different things, like how he should now conduct himself and how he should now address society for his anti-classified Semitic statements to a people I love. I am a lover of all things and all bloodlines of Israel. I refuse to cause hurt or harm to anyone of the bloodline of Israel, anyone of the bloodline of Abraham, for that matter. Which means that we have to be we have to be unified on the point that we who are of this moral compass and governance know that Yahweh says, Avram, I will bless them that bless you and curse them that curse you. That was whatever comes out of Avram. Now, in loving all things Israel, in loving all things tribe of Israel, in loving all things Avraham, and loving all things Avram, we are not to turn a blind eye to injustice and unrighteousness within. We call cap, as the young people say, we check you on a lie, we check you on inappropriate behavior, but we're not trying to murder you, maim you, discredit you, or disgrace you. Okay, but that don't mean we ignorant. It does not mean you can urinate from the balcony above me and then tell me when I feel it on top of my hand or my head that that's rain. I'm going to look at you, no matter how much I love your bloodline and my commitment to you, when you're acting inhumane, I'm going to check you and call you on it for the betterment of our relationship, not to demean you and make you come subjected to me, or more importantly, me to you. So don't confuse my love for all things Israel for my love for making sure that I'm not used, abused, and taken advantage by you because I love you. And that's what anybody in the streets, anybody in my hood, anybody in my family, and anybody I have vowed to protect and honor because of my governance of life. I'm hoping that that conversation is an understood one, because where I'm about to go with facts may sound in a soundbite as if I'm contrary to that statement. So today, yes, I'm aware of the firestorm we're going to raise. This won't be as pleasant as many conversations, but it also will not be as damaging. It will be, I promise you, constructive. Deconstruction and demolition are two separate things. To demolish something and then to deconstruct something, though they are somewhat synonymous, they do have two separate functions. To demolition something, to demolish it, is completely different, but to deconstruct for the purpose of reconstruct is called reformation. I hope that you guys get that. All right. So now that we've begun and our room has not yet filled up to where our capacity usually is, and those of you on Facebook, we're glad to have you. I want to start off with the actual resetting of this room. Before I do that, I'm going to have our dear Minister Jackie come on our platform on Clubhouse and set the room for our people and make whatever necessary announcements she feels are necessary at this point. And then we're going right into some very important stuff. And we just read Ephesians 6:12, Ephesians 6, verse 18. And we talked about how we operate. But she's going to give us a quick break so I can take a sip of tea. My voice feels like Kermit the Frog. We need to get stuff straight. We need to get stuff now. All right. Minister Jackie, talk to us.
Shalom and good afternoon to each and every one of you that are joining us here today for this broadcast entitled Kingdom Perspective, Let's Talk, Yahweh, Kanye and Kyrie. And we are here under the preceding word, where we broadcast live through Facebook every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can join us back here this evening under the YAHShua Kingdom Ministry, where we will open up for our weekly Bible study at 7 p.m, where the topic is the origin and the truth about the tithe. Also, we'll be here tomorrow evening at 7 p.m, where we continue our long and exhaustive study of the book of Genesis. We're in Genesis 7 for our Bible book club, so do feel welcome to come and join us. We are here every Friday at 11 p.m, where we open up for our Sabbath Midrash studies, where we look at the how to Sabbath, and we are exclusively in the Torah. And then we open those studies again Saturday at 11 a.m. If you would like to, we want to extend an invitation for you to join us every Sunday for our Morrow After Sabbath service, which commences at 10:15, where we broadcast live from Facebook. And we extend that invitation for you to join us here through Clubhouse, Facebook and YouTube. Don't forget, you can follow all of our streams at Facebook, YouTube and Instagram, and you'll find us there at VWJ Ministries, where all our broadcasts have been uploaded. Please don't forget to comment on the various streams and also to share this broadcast. Thank you so much for being here with us. Apostle, back to you.
And thank you so very much. I really appreciate what you've given and shared with us today. I want to take opportunity to get started in a conversation here about what we know to be a topic of interest. And I don't want to ramble, but I'm going to start with what I have on the screen right now. And I got this after the death of a rapper from the Migos called Takeoff. Takeoff died in a gang of, in fact, dice shooting. And there are elements to this that speak to what our topic today is. Both YAHShua, if he were alive today, what would he be considered as? And I want to go right to this meat of this so you know that I'm coming around to it. Would Yeshua HaMashiach, under the concept of anti-Semitism, defined today, not the 19th century, not prior to the 19th century, but today, as we define anti-Semitism, would he be deemed anti-Semitic? And then we have the statements that I am very aware of, that Mr. Kanye, I do not agree with everything that Mr. Kanye does in his life, but I am not to judge him. That's between him and his choice of creator and who he believes he should give his homage to. And then I also have very 75% decent knowledge of where Kyrie is. He's so multifaceted, and he does have a level of intellect that should not be disregarded or disrespected. But he and Kanye and YAHShua have this common denominator, and that is they speak to unright things. One of them for the benefit of the world, one of them for the benefit of their music, another one for the benefit of their world and their basketball profession. But primarily, it was always around contracts. Now, I love all things Israel. I promise you, this is not an anti-Semitic. This is not hate speech. This is history for conversation. This is history for understanding. I refuse violence regarding this issue. I refuse ignorance regarding this issue. And I refuse to not allow for a constructive dialogue to engage between two people of different views around this subject matter. But I was sent something by my son today that I really had not planned to show, but I'm going to give it and show it anyway. It's about a 10-minute clip, and I want you guys to hear this, especially those of you in Christendom, because I'll double back on how it lays into the preceding words itinerary today. Now, I'm hoping that Facebook will let us be great and allow this to show. It is a clip from a YouTube vlogger, and pretty popular apparently. And he is also within the faith that I happen to deem for eternal life. I deem it necessary. And so though he sees it from a different set of lenses, I see it, and we share that Messiah died on the cross. Okay. Now, I leave you the question based on what's happened to Mr. Kanye and Mr. Kyrie and others. Would YAHShua be deemed anti-Semitic? Now, Mr. Kyrie and Mr. Kanye spoke out as indigenous people of America who are melanated and are deemed African Americans. Now, to Black people in general, I want to be very clear. He speaks, both of them, to the plight of the, some call ADOS, African descendants of slaves here in America, more so than he speaks to everybody that's just Black. Now, Black is a classification for color and somehow has gotten grouped into race, whereas is an inaccurate statement because everybody who's melanated is not of the same race. Let's just stop there. So we have the Aborigines people in other countries. We have, the Native Americans. We have the Latinos. We have our Caribbean cultures. We have our nation or our country. Pardon me. We have our nation of America. We have Canada. We have UK. We have the continent of Africa. We have South America. Melanation is in every nation. But what these young men are speaking to are their direct issues in America as a particular group of people here. Now, sympathy and empathy from others is wonderful and great. Black Lives Matters, this whole controversy with white lives matter and all lives matter and blue lives matter and black lives matter. It's all just propaganda for division that the kingdom perspective needs to see beyond. Of course, every life matters. Yahweh said that very clearly. He would that no life should perish, but that all lives would come unto repentance. Yahweh is not interested in whether you are black, white. He is not even interested whether you are Israeli or Greek, proselyte or zealot. Yahweh is not interested in that. He's interested in the soul, which is the color of him. You can make that a quote. So we need to understand that the kingdom perspective, those who believe in he who hung on the cross, those who believe that he who hung on the cross is soon to return and receive us who believed in his hanging on the cross, and we will forever be with the Father. Those are of lives of black, white, green, blue, Latino, Polish, Irish, Italian, African American, Ghanaian, whatever the ethnicity is. So we have to get beyond the melanation issue when we talk about the Creator. If we ever see the melanation or lack thereof in a person, stop relegating it to race of people, we could see there's only one race. And you've all heard this, and you probably think it's just not necessary, it's elementary, but it is pivotal. There is only one race. And for those of you who keep skipping over it, let me tell you, it's called the human race.
Hey, does anybody else get to speak on this one?
Thank you, sir. We'll give you opportunity if you have something you'd like to share. Don't know who you are. Glad to see you. Apparently, you don't know how we operate. You can we're going to get your name. They're going to put you in queue. And when we open up the monologue to dialogue, we'll gladly get with you, sir. Thank you for being here. So one of the things that we always have to understand about how the people of Elohim, we could call him Elohim on this platform because of what we believe, is that the Father would that none perish, absolutely none, but that all would come to repentance, because he put every human into the earth to till his ground. And then he takes and gives you a predestined path to follow, but the flesh determines whether or not you're going to, and your choices, what attracts you because of Adam's fall, to the knowledge of tree of good and evil, right? He fell. Now we all come in like him. We can choose whatever we want. You can go with or go without God, or go with or go without your predestined path and try to make your own new destiny. That's your choice. That's what we call free will, moral agency. At the end of that bit of information, you and I now fast forward to our lives. We've chosen what we're going to do. I chose to do drugs in my days. I chose to be a dope boy. I chose to be hard hit. I chose to be difficult to my parents. Now I've chosen to come back to the Father. I've chosen the Bible over the Quran. I've chosen the Torah now over the Christian version of the Bible. These are choices I make, and you don't have nothing to do with my choice, and I don't have anything to do with your choice or lack of choices. My thing is to live in front of my Creator the way that I believe he has asked me to live. So I believe in that. Here is where we have to understand that the subject that has literally stifled America and other outlets outside of America is this issue that is also global of anti-Semitism. There's also subject matters that deal with anti-oppression, anti-black. Now you have this new emerged anti-white. So you got, i.e., white supremacy. It all is a conversation. But our goal here in the proceeding word is to make sure you understand what arguments you need to pick up and what arguments you need to leave from hell alone. The kingdom perspective is knowing that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principality and power, and against rulers of darkness of this world and spiritual wickedness in high places. And that's what brings division. That's what keeps us from the Father, from the Creator, from peace, from harmony, from tranquility with our neighbors who may or may not be melanated, who may or may not be tall or short or speak your language. So when we look at this, I want to make sure I present this to you in a holistic way. I am an African American human in this world. I live in America. I'm born of descendants of slaves. I'm a mixed people. I don't know any more about my bloodline than anybody else on this call does. And we have ways of technically finding those things out, where we are, who we are. But when you are under the blood of our Savior and the banner of his rightness becomes our desire and lifestyle. So with all of the different things that bring division, we have to know how to see them. We have to know how to take the blows and darts that come at us. And we do that by being dressed in his word. That means that we must see life through the word. Having done all, even when you're angry and frustrated and wanting to riot and tear up and get back and revenge and payback and all that stuff that comes with, at least the way I grew up, we have to look at that through the lens of his word. Who gets vengeance? Yahweh does. Who seeks to make sure that peace is done? Yahweh does. We have to operate through his governance. Now, to say that gives us the solution. And now we want to look at the problem, and doing it in reverse engineering, we can see the effort of that which wants division, how significant and effective it has been in bringing division amongst the masses. I want to show this clip. A rap group that I like, the Migos. Yes, I'm saved, I'm sanctified, I'm Holy Ghost filled, but I listen to all music because I got sons and daughters. I got my own children, grandchildren. I need to know what they're listening to out here in this world. And I came up in the rap game. I came up in the era of rap, and I came up uniquely when there was real good music, you know, Sam Cooke's and Nat King Cole's and the Shy Lights and the Stylistics and P-Funk and Funk. I came up where there was music, musicianship. You know, Miles Davis, B.B. King, Gladys Knight. I came up with real music. I'm a drummer myself, so I come through Christendom. I'm a choir director. I do a lot of things in music, and so I keep my ear to music because music sort of kind of listens to the message of the world. Now, when these two people, Kanye, his music piece, I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. And then I want to come back and talk about Kyrie, because I'm a basketball player. I run a Pro-Am league. I run a Christian basketball association. I am for real about basketball. All of my family, we ball out. All right. And so both of these characters, one's in music I love, one's in basketball I love, and both of them had their issues within the church I love. So let's look at how we're supposed to view this according to the word of Elohim. Now, Kanye, his issue up front right now, he is a mogul in the music industry. And he's eccentric. He's got things I can't explain going on through his head, but most people who are like that, even those who have Asperger and they are high functioning, you know, but yet offset types of people. I don't judge him. My profession and what I do causes me to see these things and make assessments. But he has right to speak whatever he wants to speak. And because of a element that exists, we have to let him be either free or controlled. And no one is designed to be controlled. Each of us are free men. So as an African American, understanding the music business, listening to him speak, he's speaking about inner workings of the music business. And then we took sound bites and we ran with them. And then we forced them and others to have to come back and bow down to a people they exposed doing unright things inside of the contracts. And then we classify them. Now, in all of our getting, we are to get understanding. Here's what I want to share with you today from a clip that I got this morning from one of my sons who is in the game, the music game, and understand some things. But he made this clip, and I want us to just listen to it. It's very an objective viewpoint, but it's very poignant. I think it's necessary to clear up one of my issues in the Kanye section of this conversation before we hit the YAHShua piece. So play with me, stay with me, and listen to this. Those of you who are on Facebook, you'll hear this. Clubhouse, you'll hear it as well. I hope it plays out loud enough for you. But I will put it forward right now as best I can. And I want you guys to hear it. I thought it was very well stated. This is a gentleman. What's his full name? His name is The Real Gospel. And he's from a gospel group. He's called The Real Gospel Chops. And apparently he's in the gospel of the kingdom. But he's making some statements. We're going to listen to this for a few minutes. And if you got to go, you got to go. But catch the replays because this, I think, is significant. This article is on YouTube. It is now received over 500,000 views. It was done 2 days ago. There are a lot of likes on this. He does not have a lot of comments, but I do want you to listen to this because it sort of kind of sets the tone for a place we fail to go because of our perceptions and preconceived ideas. Listen to this conversation. I'll come back and expound in a moment.
What's up, y'all? Gerald here, creator of Gospel Chops and your host for this YouTube channel, back with another video. As I've said for years, I've tried to address many musicians that I've come across in this game to number thousands of musicians and advise them about the wicked machinations of the music industry. But it seems that musicians are so enamored with the game, so enamored with celebrity, so enamored with the idea of bright lights and large crowds listening to their performance. It seems that their minds are impervious, impenetrable to the message that the OGs are giving out about how dangerous this game can be, how purposeful some of the traps are set, and how easily they can fall victim to the music game. Well, luckily for us that won't listen to people who look like me, a former record label executive came out and made a public statement following the death of Takeoff from the Migos. And he felt compelled to speak specifically to the Black music community, the rap community, the hip hop community. So if you don't want to listen to me and you don't want to listen to the other OGs in the game, let's see if you'll listen to what he had to say about the wicked machinations of the music business.
In light of seeing that a rapper from Migos died, I just wanted to go ahead and make a video about something I have a unique experience in. So I directed a bunch of rappers, people like Gucci Mane, Snoop Dogg, Lil Yachty, the list goes on and on and on, okay? I learned a lot of things, and I have left the industry largely over my political beliefs, but there is something I want to impart to people to hopefully, make some sort of change happen. So I have a challenge to rappers, and I know some of you still follow me. I know a bunch of the celebrity blogs still follow me from trying to get news from music videos and things like that. So here's the truth. The truth is this: a bunch of young Black male rappers keep dying. You know who's not dying? record executives, the record executives that push for them to continue to make songs and create a culture that is obsessed with death, drugs, and sex, period. The industry is obsessed with it, but those record executives, they're not dying because they don't push this culture on their own people, but they're encouraging you to push it on yours, and they're paying you handsomely to do it. The reality is, I know a lot of you. A lot of you are good people. You're family guys. You're not the image that you put out there to the world. Why? Why don't you be the example? Stand up. I challenge you. Be the example. Make music about the culture you want to see. Don't just get online today and talk about how, whenever a rapper makes it, his own people take him down. Don't just make those videos. Don't be sad. Don't rest in peace. None of that stuff. Be the change you want to see. Inspire it in your community. Reach out to other rappers and say, we have to stop. We're being used. You've been used for a long time. They create this paradigm to make you believe that you're so important and your celebrity status is worth so much, but in truth, you're a pawn in their game and you always have been. The government has wanted to hold down communities of people in different ways through different methods for a very long time. Their method in the Black community has been to use entertainment to create a culture obsessed with death, drugs, sex, and money so that they could create a false paradigm of what happiness and what success really was. And in doing so, they created a world that also made people more dependent on government. And as a result, gave themselves more power. The record executives that push you to do this, to go and continue to profit off the backs of your work, they're in cahoots with the elite. They're in cahoots with the government. They want you to think you're important, but in truth, you're just doing their dirty work for them. So stop. They've empowered you in ways that are real. You have an audience. You have platforms. You have the ability to make change. So go against the grain together. They're more afraid of you all together standing up and creating a new culture that's built around family, faith, freedom, doing the right thing, valuing life, than they are of anything else. So I challenge you, use your power to do the right things. If you continue to do the same thing you've done, more rappers like this are going to die. How many have to die before you change the culture? And let me tell you something else. There's a reason the record labels pay us more to do rap videos. They don't tell you that, do they? Do they tell you that they pay us more to do your videos? Because they do. They do it because they know it's more dangerous. They do it because they know it's more difficult. And they do it because, frankly, there's a lot of money laundering involved. Those labels wash a bunch of money through. We don't do it, but we know the labels are doing it 100%. Okay, they're then taking the money off the top end, and you see on your royalty check, oh, they spent $150,000 on this video. Did they? Because we didn't see $150,000. Okay, so where did the money go? And to who? Their friend's company? A lot of times that's the case. Same thing with insurance companies. They charge us more to insure your videos. And it's because they know the culture that's been created. They know that the only possibility of a music video being shot up is on a rap video. And that's the truth. So change the culture. You have the power. Your people deserve it.
Now, one thing that stood out to me about his presentation, he understands the psyche of Black males. He didn't just present a solution. He issued a challenge. He understands how we think, how we feel, how we ingest information, how we're always up for a challenge. That's how we end up with a death culture. Somebody steps on your Air Force Ones and challenge. Somebody calls you out your name and challenge. Somebody cuts you off on the road and challenge. Seems like we're always up for a challenge. So he didn't just present a solution and say, hey, here's how to fix it. Nah, he threw that bait in the water and said, he said it more than once. I'm issuing a challenge to your community to do better, to make a change, to evolve, to educate yourself and understand what's going on in this industry, how it's manipulating you, how it's been manipulating you for generations. And some of y'all wonder why I speak so bad about the music industry. Because I see it for what it is. And I see so many musicians who are dying to be a part of it, no matter what the cost. And in most circumstances, the cost is extremely high, even if it's not death, as in Takeoff's situation. It's often drug addiction. It's often multiple baby mamas, homelessness, poverty. These are the issues that befall musicians that want to take part in this game. And without having a thorough understanding of what the music industry is about, we easily fall victim to the traps that are set by the exploiters as we become the exploited. This is what the music industry is about. So if you're raising up a young musician in the church and you see him becoming great, and you don't at least warn him about what this industry is truly about, you're doing a disservice to that child. You're setting him up for failure. And although he may end up on stages in front of tens of thousands of people, although he may win little trinket awards for music played or produced, if we fail to educate our boys and girls about the wickedness of the music industry and how they are targets for this exploitative game, we will continue to provide good food for the insatiable appetite of this music game. I implore you, I beg of you, learn about this industry so you can teach the young, so that you can prepare them for the industry that they want to be a part of, that takes so many of our greatest talents, chews them up and spits them out. It's only the lucky ones that live to tell about it. Many of the others see an early grave, see a prison cell for the rest of their lives. Trying to be a rapper, trying to be an influencer, trying to be a star. That road leads to death, hell, and destruction. And it's up to us to educate the young to make a difference in this game. If you don't listen to me, listen to this label executive. He's putting it out there. He's telling the truth that it's up to us to make a change. Only we can do it. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the video so we can get more musicians involved in the conversation. And like I always say, y'all, always remember and never forget, without the gospel, it's just chops. Until next time.
I found that a very informative piece for those of you who might find that just some, uneducated young man speaking and some acts he has to grind, or the label exec, maybe he got fired from his position. Now he wants to go and narc on everybody. Or just put it out there and talk from this negative place. But it's not true. If you are like me and have done studies of this all your lives, and though I don't speak about every subject matter, I'm pretty much involved in everything that goes on to our community, because as a counselor, both in my Black or African American communities, I need to know what affects us, what makes us, what makes us, click, what makes us tick, what made me get addicted to drugs, what made me the way my environment, the way my neighborhood was raised, or I was raised, the way my neighborhood was, I became a product of that environment. And in order for us to really grab and understand this like we need to, we have to put ourselves in the best possible position of understanding what these things look like, what these things are, and what makes us trigger, what makes us end up in jail, what makes us end up getting stopped by the police, what makes us getting stopped and frisked, what does it that gets us. So with that clip, I just got it this morning, and I as soon as I saw it, I really thanked my son. I'm like, yeah, this is perfect. He had no idea I was going to be talking about this today, and I decided to talk about this last week. I just wanted to wait for all of the news and everybody's, mushrooming clouds to sort of kind of simmer down and let the wind breeze through them before I talk, and I always do. And so, to Kanye's point, this young man here, who I've subscribed to, and I'll let his people know we shared his clip here on our broadcast, but he didn't lie. And I've watched it. If you pay attention to movies like The Five Heartbeats, if you pay attention to any music about and any documentary about people like Sam Cooke, if you pay attention to the James Brown movie and any documentary with him, you will see where Kanye was coming from. And in part, Kyrie. But the Kanye piece, I'm not going to get all into the details of it because my space doesn't give me that much time to do it. But Kanye spoke from a person who was in the industry. Kanye did not own all of his music, but he learned early that he needed to. And a lot of the contracts he was under and contracts others around him were under, we sometimes can get, and I know in my neighborhood, I've been a friend to, people, great men in the industry. I've personally known names I cannot name drop here on this broadcast out of Philadelphia, saxophonists, psalmists, ballads, who are in the game and in the industry of music. Philly was a music city, much like Motown. And so music is it's in my DNA, but I never got into the legal ramifications of that world. But as you pay attention to the way that contracts are written, more importantly, you pay attention to who's writing the contracts, you will then see Kanye's issue. If you don't go that deep, you think Kanye just ranting because he's done some really suspect stuff, right? But what Kanye is talking about is the fact that I am no longer going to allow a certain people and a certain group of people, he should not have said ethnically what he said, but he is talking about the nature in which these groups of people, and they're not all, people say this is Jewish. Kanye was talking about the way that the ARs and the label executives are pushing contracts for talent. One of the things I thought was very interesting, you saw two people do it. Actually, you see several people do it, and nobody paid attention to it. When there was a man who's dead now, his name is Prince. Prince became a brand. He then later on, trying to get out of contracts he had with individuals, he then called himself the artist, formerly known as Prince. Now, pay attention. There are other artists right now who have, in this unheard revolt of these artists, have now said, I think Kanye has changed his name, and now he is I'm not talking about songs, y'all. Don't get sidetracked. Just listen. Stop. Don't get focused. I don't want talking during church right now. And what I mean by this is that there are other artists in the business, and the ones who are speaking out are saying, I am such and so, Prince. I am now the artist formerly known as Prince, because Prince, y'all told me branding would make it and get my name out there. We would make money, but you guys made all the money. I got the name, I got the popularity, but you got the money. I still went broke. Prince came out and says, I don't want the way your contracts are written any longer. And every contract for A&R individuals and label executives, even the black owned ones, y'all, I'm not talking about just one. I'm talking about anybody in this game. Okay. I don't care if you are in Tennessee. I don't care if you are in, all Memphis, Nashville, LA, Philly. I don't care where you are in the game. The contracts are written by attorneys. Now, here is a point y'all might not like me saying, but there is a specialty for contract writing. That's why what y'all don't know about Kanye, if you didn't pay attention to him, again, I am not a Kanye fan. I've never been, will probably never be, but I don't hate this man. But when this man spoke up about this, I couldn't hate what he said because he's at a level with the money he makes where most trying to get up will never get to. He's on the back nine. He's at the philanthropic strategy meetings. He's in all these different places where he now has enough power and enough likes and enough following that people include him in areas they just didn't expect him to pay attention the way that he did and realize, you just look at us as artists, because that's what every contract says, the artist. My benefit in this and my understanding in this is because as a company man for Miller Brewing, a company franchise, South Jersey Distributors, back in the day when I was in Atlantic City, I helped to write the contracts by and between my company that I represented as the operations manager and the local labor Teamsters unions that we would literally have to implore for work because of labor law. And the major thing that we would write in there is stipulating who the owner is and who the labor was. And in the contracts, now parallel to music and or athletics, you have the owner and you have the artist. You have the owner or you have the basketball, football, soccer player. So in these items, in this silent revolt, many people didn't pick up on, they say Prince, the artist formerly known as Prince. I forget right now, I'm drawing a blank on what Kanye did. I think he says the artist formerly known as Kanye Ye or something. I forget how it was done. And I don't want to be inaccurate, so don't quote me on that. I don't want to do that. But I know of several who have done that. It's like this private, quiet revolt that they were doing. And they started changing their name from their brand, but they didn't want to disconnect the people who knew them for that brand. And they said, it's still me. I'm just the artist. Because that was a shot over the bow to the contract makers and the money holders to say, I am my own person. You don't own me. You don't force me on the road on Chitlin circuits. You don't force me on the road on tours around this world that I'm dying and I need morphine and I need drugs and I need uppers and I need downers and I need alcohol and I need women to keep me going. Kanye spoke to a very real piece of the music industry. Many of us, unless you counsel people, unless you help people pick up the pieces of their lives who have crumbled and crashed trying to climb the ladder in that industry. And it's because of the way the contracts are driving them. And Kanye is simply saying, I'm no longer complying with your contracts. I've made enough influence. I can build my own. Now, did he go about it the wrong way? I think he did. But is what he said to the point that it is anti-Semitic, or is it anti-extortion and anti-exploitation? And you don't have to be Jewish to exploit people. People will always say in this global and generic conversation about race and slavery, I would be ignorant to think, and many of us as African Americans who fight with this issue in America about slavery and what's due us and what got paid to others and what didn't get paid back to us, I would be a fool to go on continuing saying that, slavery was white men enslaving black people. Very true. But I would be ignorant to not believe and know that black people had black slaves too. Just read your Bible. Stop being deep. So when you think about these things, you have to incorporate everything before you just speak out, because then someone can come back and say you're uninformed. That's why I don't just come out when these topics hit the streets. They hit the social media and viral trends of our world. I want to make sure I have all the information. So Kanye's conversation in general, I can assure you, was about how, in fact, the contracts were written and the business is done. And to this end, to the unfortunate part of the conversation that leaves me between a rock and a hard place, most of the ARs, most of the labels, it's in the earlier years up until now, up until people like, y'all gonna not like me, but I'm gonna tell you right now, these people that I know, and I love them. I love what they did. I love what they do. I'm from the hood. I'm from the streets. I'm never gonna lose my hood nature, even though I'm teaching and propagating the kingdom of Elohim. But in my hood world that I can never detach from, there was a man called Master P. He changed the game for Black artists. He taught them how to actually make the money that the labels were ciphering from their camps. Back then, artists, rap stars, singers like Whitney Houston, even singers like Phyllis Hyman, singers like Sam Cooke, singers. You hear so many stories of singers and artists who are popular to you and I, got music you will never, ever, ever forget. You will play it at every karaoke. You will play it in every night you want to be romantic. You will play it. And those people sang those songs, but they are not the ones getting paid for them. They got paid to get in the studio and record the song, but they didn't own the music, they didn't own the lyrics, and even if they were their own lyrics, somehow they got contracted out of those lyrics being owned by them for what we call royalties. People like Master P, one of the more notable ones of modern day times that you all might be able to associate with, he was one who came in and changed the game. He was doing his music out of his own studios, out of the trunk of his car, until he got big enough to be who he is. Now, was his lyrics about the game? Was his lyrics still based on the mentality that the previous record label and genre directors had put forward? Were they still talking about fighting, guns, prison, dope, women exploitation, homophobia, and all those different types of things? Absolutely they were. But the thing he did that broke the door open for many to understand, i.e. now Diddy, i.e. now Kanye, i.e. now Jay-Z, i.e. now gospel artists. People had Aretha Franklin out there twisted for a long time until somebody pulled her coattail and says, hey, you're not making the money they're making on your labor. This is what Kanye was really speaking to. The problem where it becomes conflicting for me, but necessary to inform all about, is that those people who gravitate to that type of talent really came from pockets of Jewish money and attorneys and promoters, because they own the venues. They had the money to pull together and make the videos. Oh, they own the studios for videography. They own the studios for vocal recordings. And they, of course, now brought in, and if they could build around an artist and build around something that they felt would sell, they also owned the actual places that propagated the propaganda of the marketing. This is what he was speaking to. And for those looking in, seeing an artist get lathered in that stuff, saying, I want to be like that, all because they made it to MTV, they made it to BET, they made it to the CMAs and to BET Awards, and they made it to the big screen. But you got people, even Taraji Henson, an actress, she would tell you until Tyler Perry came, she was working for almost nothing behind some of these movies that these people had her in. Her face will forever be cemented in history in these movies, great movies, but she got paid pennies compared to actresses of her particular character and level. That's what Ye was talking to. He was talking about, you guys, I'm not going to let y'all control me. And even if it was only his camp anymore. Now, when he talked about this, watch this closely, and we might not like to talk about it, but you're going to hear it today. The endorsers of brands like these artists come in, Tag Heuser, Rolex, Miller Brewing, Heineken, Cavassier, Hennessy, Colt 45, Nike, Adidas, and One, Burberry, Yves Saint Laurent, Louis. So when you get someone, when you got these endorsers who are coming to a artist, that didn't just happen by chance. The same people that run the recording studios and run the film studios also are deeply invested in those clothing places, because those mindset of people are all about multiple streams of income. So they say, hey, look, hitch your wagon to this caboose. We're going to go somewhere with them. And the people that see this artist in this genre, see them wearing that, drinking the other, they're going to buy that because they like this person. And until you slow down and pay attention to that train and how it's been put together and assembled, and then you look behind the wall and you see how many people are sitting at the table that's steering that train, there's only 3 to 4. And they happen to be brothers. Maybe they might have one outsider, that they are of the same ethnicity. And in the multiplicities of these cases, they happen to be of the same ethnicity. And so the Jewish community and its money, Kanye was talking about, I now know how to get it, and I'm not going to have you silence me. And the silencing that comes from that is that now you mess with my money. Now, I'm going to take this slow cook. I hope you guys are willing to hear this, because I know we lose a lot of people because I don't touch about your issue on racism. I want to talk to you about your issue on what this is spiritually. So when you start messing with a establishment's money, they got to cut you off. They got to silence you. And now if you're going to talk about them in a negative light and or i.e. expose them, even though that I don't really think was what one of them wanted to do. I think they were just letting them know, because apparently there was some back chatter I'm aware of. And I'm not going to get into that on this platform because I don't want no trouble, and not that I'm afraid. But because of some back chatter, they're like, look, we'll ruin you. And I know for a fact, I've seen people climb to heights. Literally, I know personally. And because they said the wrong thing in the board meeting, or they said the wrong thing in a tour, or they spoke the wrong way about one of the principals, suddenly now they're in IRS issues. Now they're in stuff, investigations, and now they've been drunk. So I've seen people who are a part of an incline and an ascension, And once they say, hey, I think that, you're controlling me, that, well, you're going to come because I gave you this, you owe us. Well, I don't owe you anything. I don't owe you anything except for what's on that contract. And if you want more, then we need to renegotiate the contract. And then they literally ruin that person. Next thing you know, they're in bankruptcy because the money was advances. Most of your people, if you pay attention to the stories I told you, for instance, Five Heartbeats, Cadillac, the movie with Beyonce, and you looked at the glamour of it all, but pay attention to the nuances when Jamie Foxx and the guy, the big guy, was talking about contracts and who did what. Now, they gave you Black people who were doing that, but they learned that industry from people who actually started it. And when you stop to think about it, these people think that they owe you, so they give you an advance. If you don't have any money and you were found singing on the corner and somebody say, hey, man, boy, your voice is nice. I can put you on a record. Really? I could be on radio. They could hear my music on a record album. Really? Yeah. And I'll dress you up real good. And I'll put you, get your hair done. And I ain't had my hair done in a long time. I'm trying to get it washed tomorrow. And you ain't got no money. I'm not. And look, we'll feed you. Come on. Let me give you, here's $25,000. If they give you an advance for $25,000, you better believe they got 100 times that coming back in. And see, we never paid attention to that, because if you didn't have anything and you got discovered, now they give you money, but in the contract, it's called an advance. You thought it was a paycheck. You did not realize you had no royalties. And anytime that song is sung, anytime your image is seen, the contract's writings are so intricate. They are so intricate. They are so, the teeth are so deep into you that phrases such as, we can market your image throughout your lifetime without your permission, any way we see necessary throughout life and in perpetuity. And we make money on your image. And I don't care if you see your image and you're like, why is my picture up here? They don't care. They own that right to you. You never paid attention to that in the fine writings. And then you sign that thing in ink. It may have well been in blood, because they have that legal right, and they will take you to court, and then they will win in court. That's what lawyering does. Well, who's the best lawyers, I'm going to say, in the world, quite frankly? See, this is what Kanye was speaking to. Now, again, why did I bring that up and talk about this on the preceding word? Because it's a way that we as believers have to make sure we're in or out of this conversation, in or out of this argument, so that we don't misrepresent how the kingdom's supposed to operate in this vein. When those contracts are written, most don't know, like many who went bankrupt, even in the basketball contracts, even in the way they set it up. You got to do this before we give you that. You got to make these things happen before we allow this, though we're going to say to the world, hey, they're making $100 million. And we're going to give them. That's why you see a lot of the athletes like Kyrie. I'm switching a little bit to Kyrie, how they're like, okay, well, I need upfront money. One, in case I get injured. Because before they did the upfront money, you could say, I'm giving you a $100 million contract, and you go out there and win that championship for that team that first year. You may have only gotten $2 million of that. And then you got injured. Well, you're responsible for your own insurance, your own medical care. And that $2 million gets eaten up real quick. But you had this $100 million flash across the world contract. But the moment you got injured, they bailed on you. You're a body. You're no longer running the ball. You're no longer dribbling the ball. You're no longer kicking the ball down the field. You're no good to us. So our contract protected us. We give you as much as you paid. Now, if you stay with us all these years, then you get the full $100 million. But that's when these people being beaten and getting concussion issues and being broken bones, and they can now tell you when it's going to rain because their bones start aching. They know when the wind is going to be hot or cold, because my bones feel like it's going to be a 76-degree day today. I feel there's going to be a monsoon of rain today. I felt it in my back hip, because they've been taking this abuse, working and being a mule for a company. Now, once their body has deteriorated, that contract is constructed, and those who wrote those contracts knew once their body breaks down, we got to be able to save our money because they're not going to be producing at the level that we're meeting them and contracting them for right now. They'll be just happy to get the money because they're new. We already have money. We want to make sure we can make money. They're just a commodity to us. And once that commodity loses its luster, then we need to make sure we don't lose resale value. So contracting that we just dole out and stifle out and drip out the money to them based on their performance. But to get the little bit of money we given, they have to give maximum performance. This is what Kanye was speaking to. And this is where we need our people to become understanding. So before we now find ourselves engaged in a conversation of anti-Semitism, let me take you to our Savior Messiah, who happens to be Jewish. The term anti-Semitism, and I'm going to do this in general, and I'm going to, as we like to say, I'm going to, say this in general. I'm going to say it in general. To be anti-Semitic means you are against anything that is, listen, Jewish. You're against anything that is Jewish. Jewishness, people, is Judaism. Stop getting that confused. This is why I put in the title, let's talk YAHShua, let's talk Kanye, and let's talk Kyrie. Again, let me reiterate, I love all things Israel. Every bloodline I promise I vow to bless. I will never go to war against it, ever. But I will call cat. Even our Savior, Jewish himself, by birth and by split and divide of Israel, a nation, he called cat. YAHShua HaMashiach called cat on his own people. He says, you're not doing right. He turned the tables over in the temple because they were not doing right, though they are the people that Elohim gave the Torah to show the world how to be reconciled to the Father, i.e. the chosen people. We believe, understand that. But Yeshua was like, you're still, though the chosen people, you're in this subservient position because you don't do right by the instructions Yahweh gave. You don't make contracts right. You make contracts for yourself. So there is a business side of the Jewish people that I love that I got to make sure I'm on top of. Otherwise, they will, without any proper stance against an effort of wrong from them, they will exploit that and run over it. So will my own family members with me, and I can with them. So the ideal of putting this argument around what is anti-Semitic and now that person gets canceled, we got to reevaluate as kingdom believers, because they would have canceled Yeshua. Oh, I'm sorry. They did cancel Yeshua. It's called crucifixion. That is deep, and I know the firestorm I just started. But understand clearly, Yeshua told him, you're not doing it right. Your contracts are wrong. Now, Kanye is not Yeshua. Trust me. Neither am I, nor is Kyrie. But it seems like whenever anybody, whether it was Malcolm X, whether it was Martin Luther King, who did fortunately get enough people to globally come around the idea they thrust him into. Martin Luther King did not decide to be a part of this movement. They asked him to go and speak because he was articulate, and as Black clergy, they needed somebody to be articulate and not embarrass them um, in the limelight of the Rosa Parks and some other issues. And he had a little bit of a passion for it. Martin did not want to be where he was. But when people found that, okay, you're marketable, and when people who had empathy, who may have been of Caucasians, Italians, Jews, other races, they said, hey, let's get him out there. He makes a good point. He dresses up well. We can dress him up. We can prop him up really well. Unfortunately, they propped him up. And what happens with anybody who comes against a system or regime that's in power and tells them you have to reconstruct, you have to deconstruct certain parts and reconstruct so that everybody can live the vision you say you have for this nation. And that's how he loses his life. Same thing, unfortunately, for people like Malcolm X. Now, again, you may not agree with what we're sharing with you, but I ask you to go and do the research in the books and not just take these. You got to get past the propaganda. You got to get past the newsreel. So when we say things are anti-Semitic, it sounds as if, and it is hate. And I am not for hate. I'm not for hate crimes. I'm not for hate comments. I'm not for ignorance. I think anybody who hates people is ignorant because you're selfish, you're narcissistic, and hate is not of Elohim. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of Elohim. Everyone that loves, loves God. He that loves not knows not Elohim, for Elohim is love. You got hate, you are ignorant. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have. You are probably in that position because, one, history proves that when you are selfish, you don't care about anybody. You don't care about your community. And the only reason you'll ever care about the community is if the community can be used as a commodity to get you more and greater wealth. So therefore, you are disingenuous to your community. So when we look at anti-Semitism, I'd have to say our Savior would have been considered in this day as being anti-Semitic, and he himself is a Jew. Now, to all of my great Hebrew and Hebrew Israelite and Jewish colleagues and brothers and theologians, we know, but most of this group doesn't know, that in the 19th century, the term for anti-Semitic changed to what we basically use it as today. Prior to the 19th century, it took a different origin. It has a different etymology, similar but different. It was a bit more open, not as closed. Now we're using anti-Semitism as a shield for a certain people. And I don't even have a problem using a shield for a people when you are moving together to better your living situation, ensure your sustainability, and ensure your ability to function in the world as a power. And I don't even really have a problem with that shield when guided by Elohim moving forward. And if he says occupy, in that shield, you occupy. But when you use that shield purposefully to divide other entities you have been thriving off of, and then to garner support of those external from the issue, and then say this is hate crime, so this person needs to be removed and done away with, when in fact the contracts that have been made with the people who have been fed up are clearly and epitomized a hate for the people, but a love for the money you can make off the people. And if they die in the process of you making love, you could give a damn. That's what Kanye was speaking to. And that sounds like I'm spewing a false narrative and rhetoric that is conducive to hate speech, but it's not. It's literally history. I would none perish. I want us to find a way to figure it out. Now, that find a way to figure it out has been a narrative for centuries, and definitely these last few decades, where people are tired of talking because it's not changing. No matter how many times we come to a table, it seems like somebody finds a way to exploit it. And it's never the end of those being exploited that's finding a way to exploit it. And if the end of those being exploited find a way to exploit it, they exploit their own because they don't have enough leverage and enough insight with what's moving and pushing this machine forward with the other groups that show them how to do this way. This is what Kanye was talking about. So now you have people like myself and others who have been crying out for at least the last 2 decades for me. I don't have a problem with not division, but alliance. I don't have a problem with, neighborhoods of African-American descent or Haitian descent or Latino descent or Italian descent or Russian descent, working together in a parcel of land, in a region, a city, a county, a state, and causing themselves to flourish based on their lifestyle. America's a melting pot. We said, bring us your tattered, bring us your worn, bring us your torn, bring us your huddled masses. And you can huddle here and do your thing. But what we need to be able to do is not remain enemies to something that's different from us. And we need to not remain exploiters of the demise of others trying to come up and then falsely sell them a dream that they know will only keep the pockets of the dream giver fat, and the dream desirers, those who desire the dream, will never accomplish the dream. Because we keep moving, as we say in the sport industry, we keep moving the goalposts. We keep shifting the ceiling. Every time we think we've arrived and we've done everything that's supposed to be done rightly, and then we're supposed to be eating at the same table with you, there's a difference when you're eating in the room the table is in. And we see this in Messiah's analogy with the woman. And y'all might think this is weird, but I promise you, if you pay attention, it'll bless your life. Messiah said to this woman who was not of Israeli descent, she was a lady who was an indentured servant to the house of a Jewish family. And this Jewish family had her learn everything Torah. She learned it quite well. She actually learned it better than the family learned it. And so when Messiah began to walk on the earth, she identified that's the person in the Israeli faith that they're looking for. She knows it. Her daughter is sick. He's in the land, in her neighborhood. She goes out to listen. And then she says, "Sir, respectfully, my daughter is sick. Can you heal me?" He says, "It is not meet." Watch. "For me to give the children's bread to dogs." Now, if you look at the comparison and you look at all the typologies that sit within this, the table is where the bread is. The dog is not at the table, but the masters are at the table. And if they should brush off the crumbs from the table, then the dog could lick them up. Sustained, not fulfilled, but sustained. And she says, humbly, realizing her posture in this given subserviency, she says, even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table. So you can be in the same room where the table is and not be eating on the table, but eating from the table. And the way people eat from the table is still different in the room. So Kanye was addressing that, as well was Malcolm X, as well was people like those leaders in the Nation of Islam communities. Now, I am a believer in Yahshua HaMashiach. I am bona fide a believer in the cross. I am not given to Islamic way, but I've had to study it. I've almost become an imam in it. I understand where they come from. I know their arguments. I know the plights of the Hebrew Israelites. I understand their differences in how they view our Bible, the Torah, and what we believe Yeshua to be and who they believe that they are. I get it. I am a student of it, not ignorant of it in any way, shape, or form. Don't try me. However, my lot and my conviction rests here. And when I look at what these people would say, my reason for leaving NOI was I couldn't believe the level of hatred we talked about getting back our stuff at. And then as I got older, I understood they felt there was no other way to get back what was needed for them to be sustained in, because they would keep trying to work with the group in charge under promises the groups in charge said could be done. They'd meet the requirement, and then more requirements would be added, citing emergencies, citing wars, citing this, citing that. Okay, we'll adjust. And we go again and still never, though completing the requirements, get the promised reward. So it's like, y'all lying to me. And the heck with this. No more. Too long. And we're dying. And we're being left with subpar services that our colleagues that are in our sight are getting much higher and greater than us. And you keep telling us we got to settle for this. Oh, your day is coming. Kumbaya. So I began to understand the why. I still can't justify the need to do it that way. But that's the kind of thing that Kanye was addressing in his speech. Should he have had handlers working with him? Should he have sat down and talked with other activists who knew how to communicate his energy into a productive product to, without announcing it, move stealth-like, establish it, now make an option that artists, you yourself had, artists, to create an environment for artists like yourself previously, so that they can come up in a provider that you think would better serve the artist and make sure that the artist does not go broke and or their families, instead of pushing them to this machine saying, oh yeah, they put me on, let me introduce you to them, they'll put you on. And all you're doing is feeding a monster talent. And he's like, we need to stop doing this. And so even though he doesn't have his mind fully wrapped around the idea, he is at he's at the cusp of trying to get it done. And that is what needs to be done. I'm gonna tell you another person none of you gonna like. None of you gonna like me for this. Well, some of you will, a lot of you won't. And a lot of you are judging me already, but I want to make sure you understand I'm good with it. There was a man whose troubles hit him. I do not condone anything that he was alleged to have done. I do not condone anything that he was being charged with. I do not condone the exploiting of anybody in any way, in any shape, in any form. But it's funny how people who have risen through the entertainment business, be it music, movies, art, athletics, whatever it may be. And once they've risen to a level of some success, though moniker compared to them who are promoting them, just a moniker, mild, I should say. Though it's mild success, it's success that is enormous in the neighborhoods and communities that they come out of. And now once they get up here, they say, you know what? We're mistreated, we're misrespected, we're disrespected, we're misrepresented, and we're misused. And it's just not humane. And though you're giving me money, I'm not your slave. I'm not your dog. I'm not your mule. I'm going to give some integrity to the people coming up behind me. And there was a man that many of you might not like, and I understand why. I just hope we don't erase his work based on his personal issues. And that man was Bill Cosby. Until Bill Cosby went after making his own media network, trying to buy NBC, this man had gotten to the point where he met all of the stipulations. And time again, him, his investors, it was about money initially. Any other group could have just came in with the money and moved on. But no, not Bill, not his outspoken behind. No, he's cool as the Cosbys. It's a great little American, thing, and that fits our narrative. It's in the ghetto. He's okay, fine. He lives in the brownstones. We still own the majority of that stuff. And this is a real thing. We got to consider it. And when he decided to try and change how information got propagated to his neighborhoods, because he had some insight on the backside of that wall that most of us looking at the presentations didn't have. He knew how some of the stuff got built up. He knew how some of the stuff was being directed. He knew who was steering the buses, who was steering the trains. And he was like, yeah, this ain't right. We need to let our people know. Some other great comedians that you'll probably never hear of, who are activists for you all, and we've just been just left to not know and understand. But when that man decided to go after NBC, I don't think there were ever as many rejections to his group's procuring of a major network than what his group went through. And to the point where every time they threw a stipulation or a batch of stipulations at him, he had resources, he had people, he had attorneys, he had all the necessary elements to meet those stipulations and fulfill those stipulations. So once they realized he had met every single solitary goalpost move, then suddenly his character's put on parade. Wrong as the choices are he's alleged to have made. That's what happened. Why? Because of what he wanted to get done. So why are you talking about YAHShua, Kanye, and Kyrie? You said, let's talk. You doing all the talking. Yeah, well, it's my show. But here's the catch. When you mess with a system that's making money, and the music game has made money, did y'all know that there were endorsements called privatized prison, that became endorsers of rap music, rap records, and the hip hop culture? And they got behind it and funneled money to it so that the narrative through music could infiltrate the mind of our young people, now have them shooting up. Because most of the people, like the AR guy said in the clip I showed you, most of the people in the game ain't about the life they popping off. I mean, I see it, coming from my neighborhood. Now I know some jokers that's about that. But those who about that, they don't get far with the ARs. If they about that life for real, the ARs are scared of them. And they're like, here, give him peanuts and get him away from us, let him go back to selling drugs. But those who, because they grew up next to the guy that's about it and can talk about it from their window and see the game and say, hey, I saw the boy get choked out. I saw the crap can go down. I saw how they was flipping bricks and flipping rocks. And I even got involved a little bit, but I had to get out because I was too scared to go to jail. But you know what I mean? I'm looking the part because I know how to dress, because this is what you got to dress like in my neighborhood. And because of presentation, that's all it takes to change imagination in the child's mind. So when those who are about that life come in and they can rap a little, they don't get the chances that the one who talks about it enough, but really ain't tough like that and doesn't have an education. So they get you and say, hey, you promote this, promote guns, promote killing. Matter of fact, you got to do it harder. You got to do it like you the real OG. You know what I mean? Talk about killing, talk about cutting, talk about hoes, and talk about bees, and talk about bottom bees, and talk about using it, and all of this. And the end result, as this AR stated to us today in this little clip, it's pretty much real. And you might not like how he did it, why he did it. You might not even like me for presenting it, but it's true. It leads to death. It leads to multiple baby mamas. It leads to STDs. It leads to disrespecting of our children's mothers. It leads to never having solid homes to grow up in. It leads to prostitution and pimping, and our girls and our guys out here dressing and confused with gender and orientation and confused with how they should think and what a community looks like, and some of it ends up in death. It ends up in drug addiction. It ends up in prison terms. It doesn't end up well. And see, that's what Kanye was, in a way, talking about. But I don't think he knew the full scope of what happens when he opens that door. Because it's not just you being given the right. And that's the thing. You're being given the right to have a record label. You're being given the right to be an agent for athletes. You've been given the right by a people who gave you that right. And he was like, I don't want you giving me the right. I want to do it myself. Because they will allow a group to rise up to a level that they're in the room where the bread's being cut, but you're still getting crumbs. You're not sitting in the leather seat. Sit down there on that patty and we'll push it into your bowl. And then you can leave this room where others covet to be in and say, you with us. And Kanye is like, that's the end of that. That's a better analogy than y'all gonna say amen to. But that's what he was talking about. And Kyrie's issue is a little bit different, but yet we threw the same shield and the same hate on his dialogue, because it referenced, unfortunately, the same people. Again, I love all things Israel. And some of you said, well, you hypocritical. No, I'm not. I love all things Israel. If I can talk to my human beings who are at that race, at levels of financing and influence that are higher than mine, if they'll give you time to talk, I'll check them as well. That's if they care to hear that their efforts to make themselves wealthy are crushing the people beneath them, the people that they knowingly or maybe unknowingly are using. But if they feel like, look, me making money is more important than me worrying about your pain, you don't owe me nothing. I don't want you to give me thing. I just want you to get your foot off my neck. See, that's what Kanye was talking about. Now, Kyrie, his conversation was looking at this movie. I think it was Hebrew to Negro or something like that. I don't want to misquote that. If anybody knows that movie, feel free to let me know. Let me see if I can Google what it was. Hebrew to Hebrew or Hebrew to Negro movie. I had it this morning. It's just not, I can't find my note for it. Eesh. All right, so I'm not finding it. I'm sure I'll get it for you. I think it's called Hebrews. It's called, yeah, thank you. It's called, thank you, whoever that was. It's called Hebrews to Negroes.
AJ, you're welcome.
Hey, AJ, thank you so much. And I just found it myself. Yeah, thank you. It's Hebrews to Negroes. And what this movie did was show the Hebrew to Negro, the whole, as it were, translation and the whole transition, pardon me, over a long period of time. This movie is 3 hours long. I'm going to go back and watch it later on today myself. But from real live sources that I trust and know who have watched it 2 and 3 times. And we speak the same language. And I'm going to go back and read it, which is why this broadcast will be airing this again on this Friday. Kyrie's issue was that if we as athletes, or he posted about Hebrews to Negroes, and then it came off as being anti-Semitic, and then some other minor statements he made. He was then labeled anti-Semitic, hate speeching. But what he was saying was complimenting, pardon me, he was actually complimenting the Jewish people and telling the African American community, we need to do what they did. Now, because the movie has points and places where, and some of the narrative have points and places that seem to be like, against what went down, he was like, we need to stick together. We need to not share our wealth or our profits with any other community until we've let it circulate within our own communities. There was a man back in the 80s that I used to love to listen to. He was an economist. He was an African-American historian, and he was well-educated. He had a journal. It was called the Tony Brown Journal. And Tony Brown would teach. And I remembered this one statement that changed my life, and it still sticks to me today. And I've tried to do it within my own community, but it's hard to do because we've not, as an African-American group, been willing to stop our view of hustle to understand how to coagulate ourselves together and make community so that we move together. We're just trying to hustle separately. And Kyrie was saying, we have to stop this crab in basket mentality. We have to stop this separate side hustle issue. And we got to do what these Jewish people did, and are going to forever do. And they keep what they make within themselves. And then and Tony Brown said it this way, before 1 red cent leaves that community, they have recycled it 6 times within the service providers of their ethnicity and their community before 1 red cent leaves its community. That is self-sustainability. So if they needed a marketer, if they needed a digital creator, if they needed clothing, if they needed food and butchers, if they needed milk and dairy, if they needed farm and farmlands, they would support and put their money and buy from their own, tell them what level of excellence, what level of product they needed and that they wanted and that they would support. And then they would get deep down into the children during the bar mitzvah and bat mitzvahs and tell them, here is what we're expecting for our community to be self-sustaining. So your children's children will have something that will be self-sustaining, and we're not subjected to anybody else unless some weird war takes over, right? And this is the mindset. Kyrie was simply in a compliment to them, making clear. Now, there's some issues in the thing, so don't think I'm saying that, Kyrie was, right in what he did, but he was basically saying we need to do that. Why is that a problem? Because they, who he is saying we need to be like, know that if they do what we did, that's going to affect our bottom line. We need to stop him from talking. He need to be quiet. Tracy, I was about to go to Tupac. I didn't want to hit Tupac because it's still, Tupac is still never the right thing to hit on. But Pac wasn't crazy either. Pac was doing too much. He was trying to find his bearings. And if that young man would have lived, I think he would have realized a lot of things that he was searching for, that his mothers and his ancestors had been instilling in him. And I think he would have been a great activist for us. I find it very strange. People who really sought to help educate us, especially out of the music industry, Marvin Gaye. What's going on? Tell me what's going on. Sam Cooke. Everybody had their personal demons. But I find it interesting as I look over the historicity, how these people who had the voices and were ready to use their platforms end up dead all the time. Not one major voice really fighting against the machine lived through it. Yet it looks like it was something done in their neighborhood that killed them. I'm gonna tell y'all somebody you don't pay attention to and you don't think about. And again, another person with some weird stuff in their life, and I don't condone any of what they've been alleged to have done. Do not condone it, will not condone it, won't ever condone it. And they are allegations, but all that is still in a quandary. But what he did find out, and most people thought that he was broke, and that was the guy called Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson worked his way up in his company that was promoting him. And when he signed his contract after many albums, he signed his last contract. In the contract, he leveraged himself because of his popularity and his ability to draw wealth. And he negotiated himself into owning 51% of Sony. And the average African American don't even know that. And they thought this man died broke. Why did Michael Jackson do that? He, Diana Ross, he had been through the whole process. He'd seen himself exploited. He'd seen himself played out. Granted, he was one of the ones who had a lot more given him than others. And as long as he could be exploited for his confusion about who he should be and what he should look like, y'all realize that's a commodity, right? Shock in all sells. So in this concept and process, that's where he is. He is a saleable item. But he did come around, and it caused him a lot of conflict. It's funny how once he started to talk about the changes that were needed, He had an album and a song in one of his albums that they made him change the words on. Now, you guys got to go do that work. I'm not going to do it for you. But I go to the history. I go to the actual laws. I don't listen to the news reel, the news spin, not conspiracy theory, real documented items of him having to change the song because those who were handling him said it would come off as anti-Semitic. And he told them it's not. That's what y'all did to me. Now, amongst all this other litter on his front yard, he figures out what he needs to do, and he is in the position. That's why there is a Michael Jackson estate, because Michael Jackson finally started owning his own music, and he owns 51% of Sony at his death. Sony is a promoter and a distributor. Just in case you didn't know. So when we talk about what takes place with Kyrie, we talk about what took place with Kanye, we talk about what took place with Tupac, we talk about what took place with Marvin, we talk about what took place with Michael, we talk about what took place with Prince. All of a sudden, we talk about what took place with Malcolm X, we talk about what took place with Martin Luther King, we talk about what took place, you know what, even, thank you, who just did that? Even with Nipsey Hussle. When these people figure this stuff out, and you gotta understand, which is why I have a great deal of respect for the young man. I got respect for him. Don't condone everything he does, but Master P, you know, he changed his name to Percival, which is what his mama named him, and he's become more, as it were, palatable in the community of wealth that he now frequents and is in. But when these people who have a voice to speak for us figure it out, suddenly they end up dead. Tupac, Biggie. It's not, I'm beyond the point of thinking it's a coincidence, and it's a product of their environment. Because of my involvement in my environment, I know people who are hungry and grimy and willing to come up any kind of way, they'll do a lot of strange for a little bit of change. And if they never had the kind of change they're being presented with, the strangeness of what they do can be off the chain.
When you make a deal with the devil, the only way out is YAHShua HaMashiach.
It's the only way out is Yeshua. And that's where we have to understand two things. One, this is all prophesied. And Yeshua himself spoke it. Just read Matthews 23 through 26. I promise you it'll make a lot of sense. The love of many is going to wax cold. Men will be lovers of themselves rather than lovers of Elohim. And you got all these different things that take place and happen in our community. And if we allow ourselves to stay ear to the media reel, which is driven by an entity who profits from shock and awe as news and is also a creator of that news. You create the product to promote, and to do that, you get into the grassroots. You get us wearing the sneakers, you get us wearing the cars, you get us wearing the clothes, you get us in the movies that we want to market to our group of people. And the people who are doing this driving would never, ever promote this in their own neighborhoods. So now, Apostle, how do you put this in context to incorporating Yeshua in this conversation? Let me paraphrase, and I'll be back on Friday to talk more about this. So if you feel like you have something to share about this subject matter, inbox me, back channel me, get with me. If you want 2 or 3 minutes to share on this one coming up, I'll listen to what you want to add. We'll vet your information and we'll make sure that we make it a better program. The program is already set, but I'm always up for enhancements. If I got to extend it until the next Monday, we'll do that as well. But I want to make sure that we, from a kingdom's perspective, understand the posture we need to take. And right now, again, like every other issue, whether it was COVID, whether it was same sex, whether it was abortion, the church seems to have this dumbfounded deer in the headlights look on its eyes and don't know which way to go. We don't know what to say, and then we just join in and say dumb stuff and find ourselves in arguments and conversations that bring division and further stymie any growth we could have of unifying within ourselves. So the perspective of the kingdom has to be seen through the representative of our kingdom. And YAHShua HaMashiach made it very clear. When he came, he did not come to endorse Christianity. There wasn't even a such thing as Christianity when Yeshua showed up or when he died. And for that matter, when the first church of YAHShua HaMashiach began in the book of Acts, there was no Christian church. We made that up. We're here now. We've repurposed it. We've made it somewhat, effective, and we got a direction and we're moseying along. However, Yeshua also, please hear me, Yeshua also did not come to endorse Judaism. He did not. He did not come to endorse Judaism. Now, I don't have a problem with people producing narrative for their way of life. I have no problem with that. My problem comes when we connect it to the Father, and the Father himself, through the words himself, directly condemns it. And then you say he's a part of it, i.e., Christmas and Christmas trees. He tells you, don't go and cut the tree down and bring it into your house and deck it with silver and gold. He tells you, don't do it. And you do it anyway and say, oh, my Savior, oh, holy night. I got a problem with that. That's just, the levels of indictments is just astonishing to me. I also have a problem when he tells you in his book of righteousness that you say is your governance for life, and then you do contrary to what he says to do, and then say in the contrariness of what he said to do, oh, this is God. I have a problem with that. Now, I don't have a problem with you creating your own narrative, but don't say that that's God. When you clearly said this is the word of God, and then you do different from it. So when we take, i.e., the commentaries within Christianity, and those commentaries run contrary to the Torah, the Bible, or we take the Mishnah of Judaism, or we take the Talmud of Judaism, or the most popular, we take the Halakha of Judaism, and it runs, extends, and waters down the core of what the Torah says and say, oh, this is what God says. That's wrong. And I'm still not going to judge you on that, but the word will judge you. At the end of the day, Messiah did not come to establish your version of the Torah, Judaism. Messiah was born into Judaism and never wore it. And he died for it. But the Christian church has this narrative that goes on to indict and state that, he died because it was prophesied. It clearly was prophesied. It clearly was to be done. But you cannot forego a principle that exists within the mentality of the people. And how the prophecy would get fulfilled is because of the mentality that existed. Yahweh used it to his glory, but the mentality exists. So when you come and tell us, woe unto you Levites and the Pharisees who tell these people to hate the Samaritans, and you Samaritans who tell yourselves to hate the Jews, you are all Israel. You are contrary to what Torah represents. We don't stand for that. Judaism is not what Yahweh sent the Torah to establish. Yeshua kept telling them that. He was anti-Semitic. He was anti-Jewishness. That is a hard pill to swallow. They called him a heretic. They called him an imposter. They called him blasphemous. And though there was no evidence that he did anything wrong, even Pilate washed his hands and said, what do you want me to kill this man for? Why do you want me to torture him? Why do you want me to give him our version of torture to his death? What did he do? Oh, he checked y'all. Oh, well, me and my wife in her dreams, we don't see nothing this man did wrong. And then they extorted him. And they said, do you want us to go and tell the Emperor Caesar that someone is down here threatening that they are the King of Kings, and you want us to go tell that to your boss? What you think your boss gonna say that you didn't put down a potential revolt or a potential guerrilla group who is saying that they have the king in this region? What do you think Caesar is going to say for you to do and do to you, because you, having heard it first, did nothing about it? That kind of foolishness, though necessary to get our Savior to the cross, is a still resident mentality. And it's just the way a people are.
We have no king but Caesar.
So, yeah, that's what they say. And then we end up with our Savior crucified on the cross. Granted, prophecy, because Yahweh understood what it would take to get Messiah to the cross so that the body prepared could pay for the sins of all humanity. The problem was Judaism felt that they were the only and elite. The problem, secondary, or the problem in that problem, is when Yahweh gave Torah to Israel, there was not a Jew on the planet. It wasn't until Israel stopped obeying the instructions, ended up getting defeated and breaking off themselves and divided themselves, that you get Judaism. So Yeshua was trying to get us back to Torah only. He would have been clearly indicted as an anti-Semite based on today's definition. All right, I'm going to switch over real quick and give a few moments. I got 20 minutes. Cool. So I know that I gave a long dissertation. This is a monologue program. On Friday, there'll be a monologue as well, because we have information we want to share with you guys about how we are supposed to operate, knowing what's going on in the world. One, the Torah, the Bible, through the lens of the Torah, tells us that these days are going to happen because they're to garner more division. And that's just the prophecies that are part of the writ. They are going to happen. Men become lovers of themselves, and rather than lovers of Elohim. They're going to be children divorcing their parents. We got same-sex marriage. We got abortions. We got all these different things, that are happening. We have narcissism at an all-time high. We got people murdering each other because one person likes green, another person likes blue. These things were prophesied. We're supposed to know that when we see these things happening, they are a sign that he's soon to come. We need to get ourselves back in the word, follow our lifestyle from the word, and do not be moved by what we see in the world who doesn't see the word the way you do. So if you're a believer in Yahweh, who is our Elohim, our job is to now not fall back like retreat. Our job is to occupy till he comes. Now, if somebody approaches you and tries to buck up against you about what you believe, you're not to be no little chump and lay down. You stand right there, keep your loins girt with truth, your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel, your breastplate of his righteousness on you, your helmet of salvation, keep your mind, and your shield of faith, as well as your sword of the spirit, and you stand there. Yahweh will fight that battle. But when you back up and start swinging out of your own gust and trying to get revenge because they came at you a certain way, or try to make sure they know who you are and feel your presence, that's when we're in error, and we literally continue to allow the precipitation of this division to happen. And now they look at you, and you're supposed to be a Christian. You said you're supposed to be all about peace, and there you is, you out here fighting. Forget the fact that they led you into this and gave you reasons to go off. We got to make sure that we represent ourselves rightly, because that's all that Yahweh wants us to do. Represent ourselves according to the word. And this onslaught, this deluge of trending topics, it will always pique your interest. It's okay to have your interest piqued. Just make sure you know how to respond. And that's why you must understand Torah. Now, a few days from now, we'll be entering into Shabbat. It's going to be some fun. But in your 6 days of work, keep your head stayed on him. And amidst all this swirling controversy, the natural storm, I got Nicole coming in now. We just got rid of Ian's behind. And Fiona, that chick was a trip. Now we got Nicole coming through. I got to deal with them. I got to be hospitable to Nicole. She coming through. All right, cool. Let me lay down. Get out of here. They say she's trying to stay a long time. But anyway, whatever storms are brewing, even in the media cycles, even in your faith system, when people are telling you, well, we believe this for so long and now we're recanting, we don't believe this any longer, and God is not moving like that, or all of these different storms, you keep your mind stayed on him. And he, Adonai, the word of Elohim, will keep your mind in perfect shalom. Now, I didn't give y'all clickbait when I made the title. Let's talk about YAHShua, Kanye, and Kyrie. I want to talk about how we are to operate. And the proof of that is even demonstrated to us in the life of YAHShua, because you would think it odd to say a Jew would be anti-Semitic. Well, you're born into Judaism. You choose to remain. Messiah didn't come to be a part of Judaism. He came to be a part of Elohim's kingdom. And at some point, Judaism, and I still say Christianity, is not propagating the kingdom of Elohim. So I love every person who was born as a Jew, every person who was born as an African American, every person who was born as an Italian, but I don't have to like your ways. I don't want to see you demise. I don't want to see you hurt. I want to see us all shine. I know that takes a lot of deconstruction and reconstruction. I'm willing to weather the storm. I know it won't be done in 25 years because there's too much that's been done over the centuries and the millennia. But at the end of the day, if we all have a mindset to push forward and finding at least one solid vein we can travel in, we can come to some serious changes that provide everybody a quality of life that nobody is subservient to the other. I believe that. Am I willing to forgive people? Yeah, I am. Do they deserve to be forgiven? Not by my neighborhood standards, but by the kingdom of Elohim. He says, yes, I'm willing to abide by the governance of my life, and that's the Torah. And for those who say they rock with us, and then I see you out here fighting and going back and forth with poor information at best, then I got a question. Are we really walking together? Are we seeing the same things? Because the Torah says we respond this way. How are we living? That's right. Monday's preceding word was a setup for today, which will precipitate again on Friday. So I'm going to stop talking for a few moments and give an opportunity for dialogue on the platform. I know our rooms have shrunk quite a bit because people don't like listening to the same person, but I hope that I've been somewhat informative to you to give just a little bit of a teaser. This is just a teaser to what we're going to talk about on Friday. This is just opening the door, and then we're going to show you more from a biblical perspective where things need to go and still utilize modern day scenarios that you and I are living through right now and show you where the biblical prophecy is attached. Welcome to the preceding word. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yahweh or Elohim. Moderators, I see I'm hearing some names. So moderators, make sure y'all help me. I think I heard Cyber first. Was there anybody else? All right. I guess I'm the moderator today. Okay. Yep. Room is dropped
So
up.
I didn't hear anyone else.
Awesome.
Cyber.
Hey, Cyber, what you got, sir?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Apostle, I know you were really looking forward to me being the MD, but after this talk you just gave, man, I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure.
Between Cyber and Eugene, I'm not certain what I'm going to do, but we're going to figure it out. What you got, Cyber? You still there?
No, really, that was it. I just wanted to bring some levity, man. I really want to be the MD, but the musical director, I might get up there, man, and lose my mind, man. Go make some deals myself with the devil, So, I'm going to pass.
I heard that phrase. I heard that phrase, making a deal with the devil. And, I used to listen to that long ago. I'm on 2 albums. Many of y'all don't know that. I don't get any royalties for that album, but those albums will forever be in the world. I'm a drummer on one and a singer on one, and I could care less because I did it for the glory of God. And I remember sitting around while the contracts were being discussed. And I didn't know then what I know now. And now in hindsight, I'm like, wow, they really tried them. And so when I'm listening to Kanye, now I guess he's known as Ye, do and say what he is saying, and just making it clear that these things behind closed doors that he's been experienced to at the level of money making he's experienced to in the music side of this issue is huge, because it's been going on forever. There is not one movie that I've watched about music. Cadillac, give me some more. James Brown, Twinkle, well, not Twinkle, Glitter, Sparkle. Ray, thank you. Ray.
Isley Brothers.
I didn't see that one, but okay. These contracts are real issues, and it's not. And some of the movies, particularly the ones that have really had a lot of say so and power in our communities where it seemed the temptations. Thank you, Wanda. New edition. Thank you, Yolanda. Very good. These Bobby Brown, these breakaways, and I'm waiting for the one for Whitney. Because Whitney's will really tell another side that I don't think they'll ever want that to sort of kind of get out. Because her handler was legendary and receiving residuals for his children's children will be receiving residuals on what Whitney and others that particular handler has done. But what Ye was saying was, I'm done with y'all controlling where my money come from, and I know for a fact I can control this myself. And no disrespect, to these rap artists, and some of y'all will think I'm not saved because I mentioned these other artists and these people, but they did work to get themselves out. Russell Simmons, and he's still very much connected, but they've given him, after you played the game with him so long, they give you the right. It doesn't mean it just Jewish people. There's black groups that they give you the right, and they only let you go so far. They put you on a leash. That's just the nature of business. Ye just happened to be doing that kind of business with that type of ethnicity on a regular. Because Jay doing it with him. I'm not going to keep putting these names out here. But these other people in their sphere at their level are operating with this pot of gold. And to get this pot of gold, you got to do these types of things. And y'all like the conspiracy theories on the Illuminati and the skulls and bones and the Bilderbergs and the Vanderbilts and all of this other stuff that we put out there and we hear about, which has a place, but most have been left in the dark about where their place is. And then we just run with these stories that are made up, and it just makes the whole conversation convoluted. When you just sit down and look at the bare basics of it, it's money. And whoever controls the money is not interested in any uprisers. They are not interested in any competition. And if they can't control the competition, if they can't control the come-ups to where they still get broke off, then they break you off that limb. And then if you try to start over there, they'll keep messing up the soil around you so that you never are able to come up. And then they may, for the sake of seeming to be, a good bully on the playground, they may let one come up just so they can say we got competition. But it's competition they clearly could clobber at any point that they needed to. So when you understand that all these things do exist, you're playing with the devil. You're really playing. You're making a deal with the devil. You're making a deal with evil. Evil has a way of trying to keep you in web. You could say incarcerated. One of the endorsements I was talking about earlier, I forgot to finish the thought on, was I don't think people paid attention to the endorsement of the prisons. There was real live meetings that took place back in the 80s. People like Chuck D. Let me stop naming names. These people went into this meeting and the people who privatized prisons weighed in, formed a group to support the narratives and the element that hip hop was believed to come from, and they wanted to sell that in the areas that hip hop and that narrative they believed came from back to it. So they wanted to keep that in that area. And then to the outside world who found it attractive, but not a lifestyle they wanted to track in, they would let them know that's how those people live. That's how that genre operates. And that was profitable to sell that imagery. So now when people come over from other countries and other continents, and you are African American, you have that stigma attached to you. They assume, oh, y'all talk like that right there. Yo, what up, B? And by the time they get here, never met you, they think they know you because of the sale of that commodity beyond these borders. And when you come here, look out for that. When you run into that, this is what they do. And this sells. And though it sets tone for fashion, though it sets tone for music, though it sets tone for art, though it sets tone for extraordinary athleticism, that's what they are. And we let that picture be painted because it gave us money to come up from the ghettos and the slums we were in. And we never built our own. After we came out and stayed out. And so to Andy Dobson's point, who is on Facebook, my brother, or I believe it's a brother, I'm sorry. I want to be very clear about responding to your statement, which I appreciate. Shalom, isn't this what Black people tried to do back in the day when they established Black Wall Street? Andy, yes. What happened to that? Somehow, it's just a memory in history books. Same thing in Eatonville, Florida. Same thing over in Groveland, Florida, Oviedo, or Ocoee, Florida, in other areas. Suddenly you can't sustain yourselves. Now, we're not talking about racism. We're talking about this issue of anti-Semitism. How does the believer need to pay attention? Because if you teach Torah, you might come off to some, because you believe Yahshua HaMashiach, and certain Torah observant people don't believe in Yahshua HaMashiach, you might come off as being anti-Semitic if you quote like Messiah quoted. That's why I put let's talk about Yahshua. Would he have been deemed anti-Semitic today? I can firmly say yes, he would have been. Because he told them this that you're doing from Halakha, from Mishnah, from Talmud, which are great writings, just like the commentaries of Christendom, which are great literary works, but they do not connect rightly to the intent of Torah. But because they're popular, people read them and subsequently make them substitutionary gospels. And that's where I got to draw a line. So Andy asks, isn't that what Black people try to do back in the day when they established Black Wall Street? Ultimately, the community was blown up. They were scared of what could be. I agree. Yeah. I'm referring to, and he says again, I'm referring to Black people coming together and working together to build a community. Yes. And that's where that thing of we'll let you do it, but we got to know we can trust you first. We got to know we can trust you not to do to us if we should slip what we did to you. And it's just not one ethnicity of people. Black people have been bounced around through a myriad of ethnicity of people, and slavery has taken on a myriad of forms. And it's not just, about slavery. People who are money hungry and have no morals and no moral compass, they will use whoever will let them use them. I mean, we got some stuff going on in Kuwait, man, that I study about and I don't talk about. But Kuwait has this, I call it modern day slavery. You got apps where you can buy maids to clean, your home and whatever else you can end up getting them exploited into. Passports are kept and people are brought in, and you're buying people, though it's classified service, online. I mean, you're buying maids, you're selling maids. I'm not buying Little Maids, a company. I'm buying a for real little maid woman, my wife and husband. I mean, as a wife and husband, to come in and clean our house, and we own you, we own your passport for whatever reasons, and you can't leave until we say so. No cell phone. We'll provide you food and shelter. That is ridiculous. That is inhumane. It is another version. So don't get me twisted about he playing a black card, he playing a race card. No, I'm playing society card, and I'm gonna call it what it is every time I see it. And those who do that sometimes have played the game. That's the only way they could actually see the game for what it was. And now you're at a point where you've benefited from the game. Now you're like, okay, we got to change this. And then all of a sudden, oh, we let you see and we let you in. Now you're going to betray us. We got to silence you. However that looks, silencing and censorship happens. And I don't want to see Kanye censored. I don't want to see Kyrie censored, because Kyrie's issue was we need to do what they're doing. Kanye's issue is I can't keep buying your contracts and you thinking it's okay because everybody else lets it go. We're going to start writing our own contracts. And people coming at them legally with, made up legal allegations and reasons to do this, that, or the other in business. And then if they can't get them in business, they go after them personally. And then here comes all the other things. And these are what happened. I got too many storylines of them. I don't talk about them all the time because it's me realizing, okay, this is what you prophesied. This is what you said would happen. My job is to stay focused on you and not get distracted by it. But there comes a time when you do have to speak about and call cap. I'm sorry, y'all. Call cap in America means with the young people, because I got Americans who don't know what calling cap means. I call cap. It means you lying. It's just another way of saying it's a lie. It's not the truth. That's what we say when we say call cap. So we have to be very careful, though disheartened, disappointed, discouraging, enchanting as it may all be and seem. We got to remember what we are to do until Messiah returns. Doesn't mean you sit back and don't do nothing. It means you occupy in righteousness till he comes. So if you see what Kanye and what Kyrie and what now they're coming after Kevin Durant, right? And now you see whatever else is going on in other areas that have been trying to exploit Colin Kaepernick. You see all these celebrities. I applaud a celebrity, even in their eccentric way of doing things sometimes, who will at least use their platform to make a real statement about an injustice in any capacity that they see that they themselves personally are connected to. And when they come out and say, we got to change this, we have to have people who are in the exploited group of that conversation willing to come together and not come together so they could become the head of the food chain and thus exploit as had been exploited. We got to be wise enough to help build each other so that everybody has what is known as Torah-based. This is where I get it from. It's a commonwealth. And when you have a commonwealth, everybody eats, everybody moves. And that's true. I think that's Tracy. They shut Whoopi down, Whoopi Goldberg. They got Kanye or Kyrie. They want you to apologize to them in a certain kind of way. I can't see that in any other way than another hidden form of slavery, because we have freedom of speech. But if I say something about a particular people, then I got to apologize in I got to sit with the spiritual leader of the group to understand the group when I just complimented your group. Then I got to sit down with them and come up with something so it looks like I'm working with that group to show that this is not hate. I love all Israel. I love every Jewish person, Messianic. I'm not going to fight with them, but I am not going to kiss your butt because you said something or did something wrong and I got Torah to prove it. This is what you did wrong. I love you, but this is what you did wrong and it affected me. And I'm saying that I can't let you do that to me anymore because it's not according to the way you and I are supposed to live together. And because you got the power, you got the money, you got the influence, you on the inside, we're the come up group. Anything we say is as if we've said something wrong or offensive to the master. Is that what we're doing? Because I really need to find out if that's the case. I love you to life. Ain't gonna see no harm come to you. But what you're not gonna do, what we're not gonna do is act like I'm ignorant or stupid. And then if I seem too intelligent, I become a problem. Now you want to ostracize me. And now you want to dig up my past. And now you want to put me and my character on display and all this that goes along with it. Yeah, Nick Cannon too. I mean, I don't say that the vitriol, if it's something that they did in anger and they threw it out there, these guys are behind the walls that you and I might not get to. I've had the pleasure of being on the back nine with a lot of groups of people. I've had the pleasure of sitting in places that I felt I don't even know how I got in this room. And I've had the benefit of walking out with the crumbs they gave me. And when I got back with the crumbs, my community thought I was the man. I'm like, yeah, but this is just the crumbs in that room. I'm just got crumbs. Yeah, so at the end of the day, I may love you and care for you, but what we're not going to do is say I'm stupid and ignorant because you sat on the top balcony. I was 2 balconies beneath you. You decided to urinate on the balcony. And as it drizzled down, it fell on me while I was sitting on the balcony. And you say, oh, it's raining. Sorry. I'm not that dumb. And I don't care how much money you have. Money don't make me. So ain't enough money you can give me to tell me you're urinating on your balcony. I should receive it as rain on my head. Does that make sense, Zion? Or y'all think I've just lost my mind? Maybe y'all classify me as some of these men that are on trial right now. Have I taken too much time to speak? I think so. My groups have dropped off by 50%, and it's been a long time. All right.
You're making absolute sense, sir.
So if I call cap, it doesn't mean I hate you. When does a disagreement about how you treat me turn into hatred? Oh, because you do know you've been found out. And that's cool. Just say, yeah, I did it. I got away with it. Y'all was dumb enough not to let it continue. Now that you up on game, and okay. Just let it be that. Don't come and try to double down on the chains. We just picked and we took off and we realized, shoot, that income source you gave me was an actual handcuff. It wasn't an opportunity for me to come up. This was never going to hold my weight coming up. And now I pick the lock off and say, but I do know how to get up there. I'm going to build a ladder down here. And you start pushing dirt in the hole. You still had me in, feeding me intravenously while I was in that hole. I'm talking better than y'all going to say amen to. But when we call cap, stop saying we hate you. We just want out. Because the success that you are driving around in and flying around in comes off of my back in this pit, this mine you got me in, feeding me in the mine so I never come out of the mine, though you're giving me a good meal in the mine. Now I found out that I didn't have to be in this mine. I could have been doing a whole bunch of different things. And I'm not against you making your grind. But once I come to the realization that I'm not to be your slave, now you make legislation that you can stop and frisk me because of this, that, or the other. You can mass incarcerate me because of my ethnicity and all that stuff. And again, we're not playing the black card. We're not playing the race card. We're not playing the African-American Black Lives Matter movement card. We're not. These are real things that are happening in front of our eyes every day, and we can ignorantly let our emotions get the best of us and then start throwing furniture inside the room, totally counterproductive, and then running out in the streets and throwing bricks through windows and robbing our own neighborhood stores, totally counterproductive, and then give them reasons to say, see, that's why y'all can't come out the hole. We'll feed y'all in the hole. At least we know we can control y'all. And if we see you building a ladder, we can put a cap on top of that hole and none of y'all come out. And what we need to do is move in a way that if we're going to talk about being liberated, I don't care what your ethnicity is. If you are oppressed by a people, Yahweh does not want you oppressed. That's what the whole purpose of a Torah observant life is about. Yahweh says, if you will honor me, if you will observe to do, and if you will observe, if you will listen, if you will hear and hearken diligently unto the voice of Yahweh your Elohim to observe it and to do it, he will cause you to have all these blessings fall upon you. You're never supposed to be beneath. You're always supposed to be above. You're never to be the tail. You're always supposed to be the head. And guess what? That's a promise. So when I'm feeling as if you making me the butt of a joke, you making me the butt of your existence, you making me the back for where you bear all of your wealth and your riches, and I don't ever come up, you don't ever share the burden. Yeah, I ain't your donkey, I ain't your mule. And we got to deal with that. Have we, our ancestors, our forefathers, have we allowed ourselves to be in that situation, or were we forced by manipulation into those situations? And now we've believed with some intravenous ingenuity from those on high down in the hole to make it look like we're living luxuriously down here in this hole, We feel like we on top because we're living luxuriously in the hole. Still, our pipeline for what we have comes from some other source. We're not in control of that narrative. We're not in control of that resource. We're recipients of it. And that's really the basis of what I really believe Kyrie was saying. Again, I don't really care for a lot of Kyrie's theories, but Kyrie is a very well-studied man. He is more intelligent than people give him credit for. And Kanye, though he got some things that I don't agree with, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of his music, never have been, but he is a monster. He's as they say, a beast in the industry. I mean, let me say, I don't like his music. He did come up with some very popular beats and stuff that I like. I don't like the way he moves. That's just me, and I don't have right to judge him, so I prefer not to be a part. But I can't disrespect something that he said that was wisdom because someone said it was hate speech, when I clearly can tell you it's not. And only a person in his position can say the stuff he said in the way he said it, as openly as he said it. Now, if one of us said it, it'd be shut down at a very low level. Nobody ever hear about it. But because Kanye has eyes on him all over, now he said something, it's exposing something to the world, and we need to shut that off. So let's get the world to see him as a negative influencer. I am not comparing him to YAHShua. I'm not comparing Kyrie to YAHShua or anybody else who's an activist for our charge, but the mentality within that narrative and that pictorial is the same. It is evil. And that's how you can bring the relative relationship in the conversation about YAHShua in. All right, guys, I'm going to let you guys go. I think I've held y'all long enough. Did anybody have anything they wanted to say or share? Wanda Clark raised up Stephanie Mills. She was blackballed. That's exactly right. Stephanie Mills was blackballed for taking her stance on apartheid in South Africa. There were several that got banned and silenced in that back when. Mm-hmm. All right. I know I've kept you guys a while. Our room has dropped off in people in both Clubhouse and on Facebook. And I don't know how YouTube looks, but my battery is dying. So I guess I've been on here a minute, hoping that you guys are able and ready to talk. Does anybody else? Thank you, Cyber, for what you had to say, sir. Anybody else want to share something real quick before I shut off? Because I got to go get ready for Bible study. I don't know who you are. Say your name, please. Come off mic, say your name, and let me know who you are, and then we'll give you the space on the floor.
No, I'm Sierra.
Hi, Sierra. What you got? You got 60 seconds. Make your point. What you got?
Yep. Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Just for clarity, I first appreciate the conversation, but I came out of the industry. I didn't come up in church. So Holy Spirit, and along with individuals like this, appointed times like this, is allowing me to be able to put two and two together.
Yeah.
But I had a question, because every time I share my testimony about, literally, I had one of the pivotal moments was me sitting in front of the devil to sign a Baphomet agreement, is what they would call it.
Right.
I kept saying the devil, right? But then when I come into these different, church rooms and stuff, they kind of separate the Baphomet and the devil. And what I was sitting in front of, I would only attribute it to the Baphomet because I've seen that statue a lot, mm-hmm. being in those circles. But I just called them, the devil, as it was. And that's what also an angel told me prior to me having that meeting. Like, the devil is real. He goes by many names. So I just wanted clarity. When it comes to the body, Christ and everything, are they separating so that when I'm telling this story and sharing my testimony, I could be more, thorough with how I'm explaining that? Is the Baphomet being separated from the devil, or how is, that was just pretty much my question, just to see if you could help with that.
I can help you with that. Now, we're gonna talk more. Sierra, I would hope that you would get with Elder Page and get on the books with me. I think you and I need to sit down and have a conversation, because that's deeper than the time we got to chat on this program. However, I will say this in a broad stroke. Many people don't realize that the devil is not the issue. Evil is. Now, if you pay attention to this and say it fast, the evil. And the evil, when you read the word devil, in particularly the Greek, it simply means the evil. Now, Hashatan is what we call Satan. He is the fallen angel who made a coup against Elohim's throne, right? He is what we've labeled as the devil, meaning he epitomizes the evil that we all got to deal with: principalities, powers, rulers of darkness of this world, and spiritual wickedness in high places. So listen to this clearly, Sierra, and this is why you and I need to sit down and chat about this. Baphomet is an image of the ram-horned and or the beast-horned individual, and the item of choice from a demagoguery from Babylon and Mesopotamia, carried on into Greek mysticism as well, mythology. It's an issue where it's a symbolism about evil. These all operate out of evil. Now, when you say, are they separating the devil from the Baphomet? You can. The issue is, we think that the devil has horns. We think that the devil has a goatee. And the truth is, that image of the devil, you and I have always been told, especially within Christendom, that exists. He's handsome, he's got a goatee, and he's da-da-da, his skin is whatever. That's the image of the demigod called Pan, P-A-N. He is out of Greek mythology. He is the the god of sensuality, sexuality. They were called, what are they called when you can't get enough sex? Starts with an N. I can't think right now.
Nymphomaniac.
Nymphomaniacs. The nymphos. He's the god of the nymphos, right? And because we associate sensuality to this nympho, we labeled that the devil. And we gave that image of the devil. Then it spawned out years later to connect to another Babylonian and Mesopotamian god called the Baphomet, which also got tossed around and served throughout the millennia. Okay, so the separation of them, I don't think, should be the issue, because in the music business, you've already have it tainted, and there's a narrative derived about the Illuminati, about the Baphomet, about the devil, about Incubus, about Succubus, all of these demigods, all these spirits of evil, all of them operate under evil. So devil means evil resident and projector. Most Christians don't know that. So this is why sitting with you would be a better way of handling this, because 80 other people right now got questions that they're going to hit me with on this platform, which is cool. We talk about it in series, but I'm not prepared to talk about it today. But to your statement, evil is evil. And people think that the devil is the one doing things. People think that the Baphomet, these items, these entities are not omnipresent, as the Greek would say. They're not able to be in all places at one time. So as you hear me joke about all the time, someone saying on the platform, if 5 people came off mic and said, the devil's on my back, I'm looking at all 5 of y'all like, that ain't the devil. That's just evil. maybe one of y'all, but not all 5 of y'all, because he can't be in all places at one time. And so the separation of whether or not it's the devil or Baphomet or incubus or succubus or the prince of Persia, for that matter, it isn't that. Remember Paul's statement, and see, if you don't mind, I want you to grab Ephesians 6, and I want you to study chapter 6, verses 10 through the end for a minute and dive into that. Just let it talk to you. I don't care what translation you use, but let those words slowly read into your psyche. Paul says, we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Notice he did not say we wrestle against the devil. He did not say we wrestle against Baphomet. He said we wrestle against principalities, plural, powers, plural. Spiritual wickedness in high places, plural. Does that make sense here?
Yes, sir. That was the part I was listening about how he wasn't omnipresent, only God is. So that made a lot of sense. And could you repeat that scripture? I'm about to write it down.
Good.
That's a scripture I hold on to, but I never even knew where it's. I always remind myself of it.
Ephesians chapter 6. I'd read the whole chapter because it's very instructional for the modern day believer. Ephesians chapter 6. It'll be a great place to go. You're welcome. And thank you for adding value with your question to our platform today. Hope you've been edified. Thanks, Sierra. Hope to hear from you. If you'll reach out, one of my moderators will probably reach out to you and let you know how to reach Elder Page. So if you would like to chat more with me, I will avail myself to do that via telephony or whatever type of technology we can do to connect. All righty?
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to it.
Great news. Great. All right. Anyone else?
Yes, Apostle, it's Wanda Clark.
All right, Wanda, what you got?
Me, shalom. I was going to say Shabbat shalom. Thank you so much for today, because this topic, and it's always a pleasure to hear your thought process and me discern and then mix up mine with it. I got that piece that you played about the record executive about 2-3 days ago, and I went into prayer about it. So my question to you, and this is what I came up with when I was praying, and it's been on my spirit for the last 3 days. I feel, and I'm going to ask what you feel about this. Do you think that, or feel that Yahweh has something to do? Let me rephrase how I want to say this. The spirit of Yahweh is in this, whether it's Kyrie, whether it's Kanye, whether these people that are speaking out now with these large platforms coming together to speak about something that's been going on for centuries, to be able to have these platforms and come together to speak about something that's so taboo. Do you see something spiritual in it? Because since I saw that and other things, and I'm not going to just tie the takeoff thing, but all of this is all together, I think, for like a clarion call for people to, I'm not going to use the word wake up. Help me, Apostle.
Yeah, that's no problem. So let me say this clearly, because people, especially Christians, we just do way too daggone much. We so spiritual, it's a shame. But honestly, just as a preliminary read to this, let me say it this way. This is a prophecy. You can start in Matthew chapters 24 and 25. I would read from 23 to 26, but read that in context. These are all prophecies of the things that will be happening in the last days. That's what they are for. They are signs. Even if you want to add this other piece that says he will lead and he will send a strong delusion that even the very elect might be, convinced. So with all of these things, mods, I'm gonna ask y'all real quick, please. Can y'all please clean up my chat? Never mind, I'll do it myself. He allows for got it, perfect. My bad, y'all. Got it. He allows for us to understand what he is doing in seasons. And we're in the season of the last days. This should not take any of us by surprise. This should not be anything we go into. No disrespect to what you said, Wilder Clark. This is not something we, the church, should be going into prayer about. The only thing that this should draw our attention to is how we now move in this time. Mind you, prophesied time. We don't become hateful to the oppressor or hateful to the oppressed. We focus on keeping our mind stayed on him so he can keep us in perfect shalom, because soon and very soon there is going to be an actual extraction. But if we get distracted by all these other actions, we will miss the extraction. That's the real assignment. Time mark that for me. I'm gonna come back later and make that a reel. It's just a wonderful thing. So when we get to that place, Wanda Clark, of this, and I can't even tell you the hundreds of other things that I could easily make a topic on that go in line with this. We have to make sure as believers, as I told you before, you might not believe like we believe. And I'm not talking about you, Wanda Clark, I'm talking in general. People might not believe like we believe, but if we believe the Torah, our posture, our position, our forward path is to follow the way he has set it. And that is forgive, that is follow peace with all men, holiness without which no man shall even ever see Elohim. And we're trying to be saved, and we got to be careful that we don't find ourselves in a state of judgment from our perch of salvation, because that will knock us off the edge. Judgment to the point where we become hateful is not the kingdom. And we gotta be mindful of that. We have to be conscious of that. And I really believe that the believer in Elohim, our job is not to fight this battle, but live the way he wants us to live. That's our job in the battle. And when people ask why you take this posture, you can share if it makes sense. They agree or they don't. It's up to them. You may plant, one will add water. Elohim will ultimately add the increase. It is just the way it works. But if we get caught up like we've been raised up and brought up to just jump on the bandwagon and wield our hands and start moaning and groaning and throwing out salacious comments and negatives and judgments and vitriol that is unwarranted over a matter we're ignorant about, we don't demonstrate his kingdom. So my job in these preceding words in our Darash Kingdom ministry rooms and our VWJ ministry rooms is to make sure we understand what the Torah says we should move like in this environment, in this storm, in this strong wind, in this tropical suppression, whatever it is. How are we supposed to work? How are we supposed to move? How do we represent him? Even when I can be in my feelings about what's coming, coming up and coming out towards me. That's why Sierra's assignment, I hope many more will take it. Take that assignment of reading Ephesians 6 slow. Especially when you get to verses 10, 12, 14. You're going to see Paul is telling you no matter what comes, the battle ain't yours. All you need to do is stay dressed in my word, and all you're getting, get understanding, and Yahweh's word will give you the wisdom that we all seek about how we should move. When I move, you move just like that. Wanda, long answer.
Yes.
Does that make
Yes,
sense?
Sir, thank you. Short version, I humbly thank you, because that's the position that I wanted to take. Not to struggle with it, to understand, to see what I see and know that these are what he talked about in Revelation, talking about birth pains that's coming into the world. That's what it is. But it doesn't take away of feeling the birth pains, because when you're a leader and people come to you, I don't have to have the right answer, but I have to have the right posture within self first. Because if people are drawing on me, right, for what I know, I have to be right within what I know. So that's why I was pondering under my talit as to my position to keep me in perfect peace, opposed to not being upset from the things, because I live in this world, but I'm not of this world. And I can get caught up with the things that's going on in this world. Easily. So I don't want to I'm going to close with this. I don't want to miseducate someone else on my misfeelings of what's going on in the world, opposed to understanding the kingdom, and this must happen. Everything we see must happen. So if I'm not right, I can't help somebody else to understand from the Torah's perspective.
Yeah, I like that fact that it must happen. How you respond to what must happens is how you know you kingdom or not.
Absolutely. But we straddle sometimes with that. Well, let me keep it on me. Straddle with that from time to time, because the humanistic part comes up. That's where
the discipline in following him comes in at. That's when you know I got a reason to be upset, but you told me that vengeance is yours. I got a reason to seek revenge, but you told me that vengeance belongs to you. I got a reason to slap back, clap back, punch back, bite back, cut back, shoot back, but you told me that this belongs to you. And now that I've read some prophecy, and if I get out of my feelings, you'll help me to connect the prophecies to what I'm seeing. Oh, so that was supposed to happen. My position is to focus on living your word amidst this atmosphere. That's how Elohim is exalted. Now, again, I don't like to play ignorant, but there's sometimes, man, you like, look, no, they need to be punched in the face. They need to be told off, and there are times when you can rightly, if someone is putting fire to your elbow, you have the right to tell them, even with some energy, you're burning me. And you may viciously remove that item burning you without turning it on them to burn them and say, let me show you how it feels. But you may use some serious energy to stop them from burning you. That's where the discipline is, that once you put that energy forward to stop them, to make them feel your pain, that's where you got to make sure you follow Elohim's vein. and what he's looking for and how that thing should go. I've been talking a long time, Wanda. I hope that helped a little bit, and thank you for adding value with your statement and transparency.
Always, Apostle. Yahweh be praised with you in your life.
Yahweh be praised, Yahweh alone. Baruch Hashem. All right, one more person. Anybody? Okay. I don't think I got anything else over here on my platforms. I think I'm done. Alfred Martinez says, they have me messed up. I can't let no man or group have that much control over me, period, point blank, except Yahweh. Well stated, bro. Well stated. All right. All right, we're going to end this right here. Did you guys enjoy this, or do y'all just patronize him because this is the preceding word? Did you glean anything from this?
Yes, sir.
Always, sir.
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Well, we're going to have part 2 on this on Friday. Y'all okay with that? Because it goes deeper than this. This is just the beginning. All righty. Let us pray. Father, thank you for the time you've given us, the space. We went 2 hours over our broadcast time, and Yahweh, I ask you to forgive me and our people, me towards our people for keeping them so long. But the matter of making sure our posture is correct is what is most important here. So I'm asking you that the intentions of this particular ministry are to keep us abreast with real issues in real time, the real way you deem right. And if there's any information that has been spoken on this platform in error, inaccurately, I ask you to smite it. Show me and correct me. Show us and correct us. But everything that has been spoken in truth that meets the method of operation you should have for us, let I pray you, it saturate the souls of each hearer. We ask this and pray this in the mighty name of YAHShua HaMashiach. Amen. All right, Zion, it's been a joy chatting with you guys. Listen, I got to prepare for Nicole. This chick trying to come in here, her and Rona, they both getting on my nerve. Now, I let, Ian, I let him get out of here, but I don't think I'm going to be dealing with, all this other stuff. But Nicole coming through, Yahweh said I got to invite her. So I'm going to go and try to get things set up, let her pass through without stumping her foot. So I'm going to lock up all my stuff and make sure that, everything we got is prepared so she don't have to, come through, and injure her foot, stomp her toe, because she's a pretty nice sized storm. She is a creation of Elohim, and she got a right to walk this pathway through this world as she has been given instructions to do. And I'm hoping she'll come through and clean real good. So I see Nicole as a cleaning maid from the heavens. Hallelujah. And Yahweh will always send. He said, won't he make you clean inside? Won't he make you clean inside? So if y'all know Nicole, y'all see her, wave at her where she passes on by. You know what I mean? This too will pass. She said, my daughter's name is Nicole. But having fun with that. Remember, guys, stay safe, be wise, listen. If you're in the area of this particular storm, make sure that you are listening to the emergency information from your counties, states, and your cities so that you are not left out of the loop on what to do and what's happening in the progressions. Be wise. The Bible even says, obey them and have rule over you. And in this matter, these emergency systems have rule over us because they're helping us to get through moments that are going to happen. We cannot get away from them, prepare for them, and how to make it through should you lose power or what have you. All right. So use wisdom, be wise, and I will see most of you back at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the teaching and the continuation on the origin and the truth of another controversial subject, the tithe. My name is Apostle V.W. Jones. This is The Proceeding Word. We look to see you back here for the YAHShua Kingdom Ministries. And until we get a chance to speak again, we say to you, Shalom Aleichem. May Yahweh bless you and keep you, is my earnest prayer.
If you need truth, this is the place for you. No need to complicate it. It's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word itself approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences. Let love heal all that's broken.
Thank you for tuning in today. I hope that this message has been a blessing to your very life and your soul, and more importantly, your walk with the King. Well, we have come to the end. I hope that you would consider becoming either a partner with us in ministry, or if you're not already a kingdom citizen, consider becoming one. By doing that, you can sow into this ministry so that we are able to continue to teach this type of ministry at a grand scale. Join us on all of our social media platforms and visit our webpage to make your contributions sure. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Shalom Aleichem.